Turin. He was quite nervous since he has a fake passport, but it got through without any issues, which is a testament of how good Chameleon Troop is. And looking around, he notes that this place is quite fascinating, as in his novel, Italy was a rather unique country. One of the main reasons would be the existence of the mafia. In the story of this world, they are different from some lawless and reckless organizations. On the surface, they seem to be in conflict with the government, but they come to a relationship of cooperation when monsters appear. They created a guild and are viable both in shadows and in sunlight. They live independently within the confines of the law, for now that is. He sighs knowing that the Korean Mafia, which his target belongs to, is the strongest group among the mafias, and that he is supposed to kill one of their members. But he thinks that there is a chance that this assignment might have been ordered from within the Korean Mafia. Suddenly, he gets called by someone from a corner, and upon looking, he notices that it's the captain, who seems to be waving at him. Fast forward a bit, and she seems quite fascinated by the fact that his briefcase just turned into a bike. And Hajin asks her if she is here to help him, to which she replies she will not be assisting him. So, Hajin asks, why is she here then, and what is she doing right now? The captain tells Hajin to start riding, as apparently she wants to go for a drive. As there is a lot of time left, so they should go take a look around Turin. We now switch scenes to Naun and everyone else, who seems to be tired from training, and Suho calls it understandable, as they have been sparring since classes ended. Meanwhile, Yunha seems to be in thoughts, and Naun asks her why is she not sparring. But she is still thinking about the child that was with Hajin last night, and wonders who is she. She doubts that he would have kid at such a age, and he cannot have a niece either, since he is an orphan, and she didn't find any relatives of him either. Naun gets tired of being ignored and asks Yunha what is she thinking about, and if she got dumped by Shin or something, hearing which she gets pissed off, as she got rejected by him when she asked to study together. So she takes her revenge by telling Naun that Hajin said he hates her now, and Naun gets flustered by it and asks what is she suddenly talking about. Suho asks if she is serious, and she replies she is, and that rumor has already spread throughout the academy as well. She continues on that if she was in Hajin's place, she would have also preferred Rachel over Naun. It starts to piss off Naun as well, as she asks if she is going to keep talking like this. But Yunha asks her why does she care, since she said that she hates him before. As the tension starts to rise between them two, Suho is standing confused. And so, Naun angrily walks away, while Suho asks them why are they suddenly quarreling. He gets all teary, thinking that everyone was getting along just fine until a moment ago. We switch back to Hajin, as Captain is sitting behind him, as he wonders if she really just wanted to go for a drive. She speaks up, telling Hajin that there is a gathering at 9 p.m. and Hajin realizes that it's the hint of the trainee mercenary mission. She continues, the location will be the Leoron mansion in Turin. The target is in charge of hosting the society gathering, and there is an abandoned cathedral in the forest near that mansion. And the spire of the cathedral is quite high, so it's the perfect place to snipe from far away. Seeing which, Hajin wonders, just how long has this cathedral been neglected for? And quickly climbs up the wall using his parkour skill, which surprises the captain as well. From up there, he can see the mansion, and notes that it's indeed a great vantage point, just like the captain said. She then asks if she can watch him execute his mission, and he declines, saying that it's uncomfortable for him, and tells her to leave, and she starts sulking a bit. She doesn't leave it at first, but Hajin once again tells her to, so she finally does. And now we see Hajin using his eye to analyze the mansion. He notes that there is about 1 kilometer of distance between this location and the mansion, which is the distance most heroes can cover in 30 seconds, considering that plus the time it would take for them to figure out the situation and his location, he would only have a minute to escape. And while it's faint, he can tell that there is a mana barrier surrounding it. Though, he is glad that the barrier is weak since the event hasn't started, and decides to get started himself soon. He then uses his stigma magic and pulls out a whole sniper rifle to take down his target. He then uses Identify on the bullet and notices that his luck isn't good today. Though, he still considers it fine, as he will use the mana of stigma to buff the enhanced bullet with anti-demon properties. As in order to get rid of any evidence, he also made it so that it will oxidize right after it penetrates through the target. In other words, there is no need for him to worry about the failure of the mission, as he will kill him in one shot. Hajin hesitates to pull the trigger, thinking what if his target is a human. Since him being a demonic human was just a rumor, what would he do if he isn't a demonic human? And questions himself if that would make him a murderer. While he knows that he is within a novel that he wrote and they are just characters that he created. But now, it feels like that they are real to him. He then remembers his parents and we see blood starting to drip from his mask. He thinks that he will be spending at least 10 years in this world and he might end up being here even longer than that. Which is why he thinks that he has to become indifferent to these situations. And even if they really feel like real people, this place is not reality, but just a novel. And so, he strictly convinces himself that it's just a novel and takes the shot. We see the bullet piercing straight through the target's head, as everyone around freaks out that he has been shot. Seeing his body and blood, the captain comments that the demonic humans don't bleed. We now see Hajin sitting with a serious expression on his face. And so, the captain also arrives and calls him out. He asks her, how did she knew that he was here, and she replies that she tracked him down, and Hajin gets surprised knowing that she can do something like that. But regardless, she compliments him doing a great job today, and Hajin replies that he is glad to hear that. Though, she notes his hands trembling and thinks that the mission took a huge toll on his mind. And that it was probably his first time killing a person as well. She then asks Hajin about his day today and he replies that it was a little difficult for him since it was his first time. Captain agrees, saying that earning money is not easy, but money is the only thing that can be trusted. Especially for people like them, hearing which, Hajin's eye widens. Hajin is confused about this statement and Captain continues that it's because they lived their whole lives without any family. Hearing which, Hajin gets angry at first but quickly calms down and agrees with Captain. Looking at him, the captain notes that he is quite good at recovering from shock, and the more she sees him, the more she likes him. And also remembers that the thing that destroyed the mana barrier was definitely anti-magic. And so, thinks that she wasn't wrong in what she saw. And that Hajin will definitely become the ultimate card that will kill that person. We get a flashback, as someone asks the captain that, if there is a reason that it has to be Hajin. Since he is sure that there are other people that are strong and have anti-magic abilities, so if there is any need to be choosing an inexperienced cadet. The black guy tells him if he is objecting to it now after all the time and he replies that it's not an objection, but he is simply curious for the reason. Captain speaks up and replies that it's about his eyes. And Drune makes fun of her, saying that she is more romantic than he thought, and he tells Drune to stop it. She continues that he has eyes that are filled with solitude, ones that say he cannot trust anyone else. Which is just like how she was that day. Which makes her wonder if this is why that she finds herself paying attention to him, because she doesn't want him to walk down the same path that he did. Hajin then speaks up, asking if he can get his reward in the form of goods, an item that is, and she replies that it would be easy to do. She asks if there is any item that he wants and he replies he would have any decent one she have. While thinking that she has a lot of expensive items, but she doesn't know the market price well, there is a good chance that she will give something worth more than the original reward, so it would benefit him more. And so she gets up saying that to celebrate him joining them, but Hajin speaks up, saying that he haven't decided yet. Which surprises and confuses her and Hajin continues that he is the one who will decide which group he wants to join. But he feels that it's too early for him to make that decision right now and Captain with a deadpan face thinks that she cannot ever tell what is going on in his head. Now we switch back to Hajin's dorm and see Evangel waking up. She notices him as well, and he is surprised seeing her too. And asks why was she sleeping there and she replies that she was waiting for him to come back home. And she then hugs him, welcoming him back and thanking him for working hard. Hajin is really surprised from the hug as he starts to grab her tightly, thinking that it's such a warm feeling. Being honest, he was already aware that they aren't just characters, and they are truly living and breathing people. He starts to tremble, which confuses Evangel, as he questions if these situations will keep repeating as he tries to get back home. And wonders, how many more times will he have to do this? Now fast forward, and the second semester's midterms finally began. But things weren't as lively as they had during the first semester's midterms, with a large number of incidents that had taken place during the previous midterms. Outsiders were strictly prohibited from entering. And while this is different from how the original novel went, but he doesn't care, since this was a part that he vaguely written about, so he doesn't really remember its content either. And surrounding Hajin, we see a bunch of students being all depressed due to how their exams went, stating that it was way too hard and difficult. But for Hajin, the day only ended quickly, as he placed first on the theory exam, and he plans to go to the nursing home that Hossup told him about quickly, and just then, someone calls him out. The person turns out to be Naun, as he asks her, what does she want? She asks if he is heading to the study room, and he declines, saying that he is going out. Naun asks if he is not going to study, and Hajin replies that he doesn't need to, but Naun asks if he have any summary notes then. And Hajin straight up declines, while thinking, what is up with her again, as Naun asks Hajin to help her out a little. As she really messed up on today's written exam, and she heard that just memorizing the important parts would help her get 10 more points. And so, she requests Hajin to help her cram for that. But Hajin asks, why does she not ask Yunha for this, and she replies that she had a fight with her. And as she looks up and offers Hajin a good meal for this, she finds him gone already and gets pissed, while shouting his name. Now we see Hajin arriving at the nursing home, the place where Fern and Jesus stayed at, and as he knocks on the door, a voice comes from inside, telling him they are coming. It seems to be some old lady, who asks Hajin what brings him here, and right as he is about to introduce himself, he notes that she already recognizes her, which makes him quite surprised. While Hajin is quite confused at her recognizing him, he suddenly realizes the reason for it. Remembering that his body was Kim Chundong before. And he was a warm person, not a cold one unlike him, and he probably has his own personal relationship that he didn't know about, as the old lady happily asks him to come inside, as it's almost been a year since he last visited. So, Hajin starts to act as if he already knows them, and asks them, how have they been? The old lady replies that this pulse is always the same, as Hajin starts to look around and see some old people greeting him and recognizing him, and are quite happy upon seeing him as well. And seeing their reaction, Hajin is quite surprised. The old lady asks what brings him here today, and Hajin replies that it's nothing much and that he is looking for Mr. Agus, from which the old lady remembers as the one from South America. He was apparently really quiet, and all he did was talk to Hajin a little, hearing which again surprises him as he learns that Chundong knew Fernand, and that it must be something the co-author added to the storyline for this part, though it's not as bad this time. Hajin asks the old lady that he was wondering if he left anything behind, and the lady starts to think, as she don't think that he made any requests. And right as she is about to tell him, they both speak up at the same time about the letter that he must have left behind. The lady seems a bit surprised by this, and Hajin is glad that this part is still the same as the original novel. She asks Hajin, how does he know that, and he ignores and asks her, where is that letter right now? And thinks that while he don't know what Kim Chundong's personality was like originally, but based on the reactions that the people have towards him here, he is certain that he had a good relationship with the people here, as he tells the old lady that he had a promise with him. The old lady fixes up her glasses and tells him that it does make sense that he would have left something for Hajin, since he didn't discriminate against anyone and approached him first to talk to him. And so, she tells Hajin that he should go to Seoho Memorial Park, as the letter will be with his remains. Fast forward as Hajin arrives there, he thinks that he is doing so many things that he has never done before in real life. And as he walks down the memorial, he finds it, Area 17, first row and number 4. And there he also finds the letter, and is glad that it's still here. As he gets it out, and is about to open it, he remembers that he already knows the contents of this letter. And there is no need for him to open this letter, at least, he thinks that he shouldn't be the first person to read this. But since there might be a chance that the co-author played some kind of trick here, and if the content of the letter changed, things will get really complicated. We switch scenes to Yunha, who learns that Hajin, before he entered Cube at the age of 11 years old, used to do volunteer work. There were many records of him doing it at orphanages or nursing home, learning which surprises her. And she wonders if this is the reason that he has been going out frequently, knowing how there were many rumors about him, but to think that this was the truth. He grew up as an orphan and joined the military academy when his talent awakened. That's a life story that underwent a huge twist for the good, and thinks that if she was in his place, she would have thrown the negative past she had in the trash bin. But instead, he chose to remember his past, and perhaps he has been reaching out to others so he could find back his past. He doesn't use his strength as a tool to gather attention, but only uses it without others knowing it, when help is absolutely needed. And while that is not aligned with her values, she has no choice but to respect Hajin for this. And so, she finds him a really incredible person, and she asks her assistant if they do not have more important information about his past, like where he was born, and they reply that they are still working on it, as those are the only pieces of information they could find, and apologizes for it. And so, she orders them to look harder and report it to her. Next on the report, they inform her that they received a request from the Core Ion Mafia to track down an assassin. One of their executives was killed and the assassin is said to be from Korea, knowing which, Yunha thinks that she was intending to approach them for something related to relic smuggling. And with this, she may be able to work out an advantageous condition for themselves, and asks her team if they would be able to track down the assassin. And one of her assistant replies that there is a newbie named Kim Hosup that joined them recently, and he is quite useful, and sends his file towards Yunha. Back to Hajin, who upon reading the letter, notes that its content has not changed at all. And so, he puts it back and gets relieved. And thinks that in this current situation, this is the only answer that the Truth Agency can give. We then see Toma's watch gets a notification, and seeing which she is quite surprised. As we learn that Hajin has sent her the message through the Truth Agency that they have found Fernan Jesus. And if she wishes to hear their reply, she has to transfer the required payment amount. Now next day, Professor announces the end of the tests, and that there won't be any more written tests for midterms either, and gives all the cadets leave. Now after the class, Hajin is seemingly buying a drink, and just then, someone calls him out. And it's Naun who asks, what is he going to do now since the tests are over? And he replies, what else? He is going to start preparing for the practical exam, which is surprising to her, as she replies that it's next week. Is he already going to prepare for it? She then starts to take something out of her bag to give it back to Hajin. And it turns out to be notes, and she thanks him for this, as she was able to do pretty well in tests thanks to them. And back then, she thought that he just left while ignoring her, and thanks him again for it, and Hajin replies that he only left because he had something urgent to do. She then compliments him that he did great at catching the key points, and he simply chuckles while thinking that these notes are actually something he got from hacking Yunha's personal database. Naun then offers to buy Hajin a good meal, as she is quite grateful to him, and asks if he wants to go there after the practical exams are over, and he replies, where to? And Naun says, Hanjung Pavilion. Hearing that name surprises Hajin. He remembers that it's apparently a super luxurious Korean restaurant which is located in Gangwon-do. While he seems to be quite enticed by it, he answers her that he won't go, which shocks Naun as she asks for his reason. He remembers that he needs to prepare for that incident which will happen after the practical exam, and tells Naun that he is busy, and tells her to go with Suho if she wants to go there, hearing which, she blushes and asks, is he being jealous right now, which causes him to spit his drink. With a disgusted expression, he asks, what kind of nonsense is she talking about, and she tells him to forget it if it's not the case upon seeing his expression. Hajin starts to leave afterwards, but Naun tells him that she was just trying to pay him back for what happened at the restaurant in Paris, and he replies that it's fine, as he is not interested. She once again shouts at him that it would be a full-course meal, but he ignores her and leaves, making her think, what was all that about? And gets a bit sad, wondering that they cannot just go with the two of them. On his way back, he plans to buy some snacks for Evangel, and as he walks by a corner, he hears someone talking. And upon peeking, he sees Toma, who is asking for some advance payment, but her agency is quite furious, saying if she is really asking for that, especially since it has been so many months when she said that she needed 2 weeks to complete her task. And that she also lost the item that the team leader sent her, which she apologizes for, and Hajin chuckles hearing that as he eavesdrops on the call. She once again tries to ask that she really needs this money urgently, but the agency shouts at her this time, telling her to better focus on finishing her task first. And after the call, she seems annoyed as she states that nothing is going her way, but as she is leaving, she encounters Hajin on the outside. She is quite surprised seeing him, and wonders how long has he been standing there, and if he overheard her call. But she ignores it, as nothing in that conversation contained information about her being a demonic human, and so she leaves while telling Hajin to get lost. But as Hajin asks her if she would like him to lend her money, she quickly turns back in surprise, asking if he would really do that. But upon realizing that he heard her conversation, she asks him to forget it, saying that he don't even know how much she needs. But Hajin replies that since she is a mage, it would be easy for her to earn money as he heard, and he would lend her the amount if she writes him a promissory note, to which she replies that it's not an amount that he can lend her. Hajin reaches out in his pocket and takes out his card, saying that he might not look like it, but he is pretty rich. Now we fast forward to the second arena, first practical exam, team combat. The rules are similar to first semester's individual combat. The primary distinct is that this is a team combat. The attacking team of the first day's match is Rachel's team, and the defending team is Yohei's team. Seeing the location, Hajin comments that the terrain has lots of obstacles, which makes it much more advantageous for him. Rachel comes, planning to charge through the front with Hosung, and as for the rest of the members, she wants them to catch up and support them. And as she plans to depart, Hajin quickly jumps and gets up on a tree branch. She confusedly calls him out, and he tells her to go on ahead, as he will support her from the top, and Rachel thinks that Hajin is trying to dominate the high ground and agrees to go his way. And so, everyone leaves for their positions. Hajin climbs up on a really high tree and suddenly notices something from up top. He quickly takes out his weapon and shoots an arrow which was coming for him, and immediately changes his position while thinking, the fact that there is an archer here means the team members of the opposing team are here as well, and wonders who the likely candidate will be. Suddenly, he notices someone sitting with a leaf in his mouth. And we see it's Yohei, who seems to confidently sitting under a tree while being totally relaxed. Seeing this, Hajin is quite confused and shocked, and wonders what is up with him, since he is being too vulnerable despite having archers around here. Not to mention, the person he is up against is Rachel, as she rushes towards him, but despite this he still seems to be relaxed. And as Rachel jumps and attacks him, Yohei unsheathes his sword and blocks her attack, which surprises her. Seeing which, Hajin is quite shocked as well, and Hosung also arrives as a backup. He attacks Yohei from a distance, creating a large shockwave in the arena. And seeing their fight, Hajin notes that they are evenly matched, and Yohei isn't losing despite being ganged up on by Rachel and Hosung. And so, in shock, he wonders if Yohei was always this strong. Even Hosung seems surprised that he is not letting up even when fighting both him and Rachel. They wonder if he is using a magic buff, and from this Hajin also gets a rough understanding of the situation. Yohei will stop the enemies at front, while the archer supports with the arrows in the middle. And the mage is probably at the back using all of his mana to cast all sorts of buffs on Yohei, and the supporter and the warrior are providing impenetrable defense to protect the mage, which would mean that it's a one-man strategy focused on Yohei. Hajin does consider it a pretty efficient strategy for defending team to use. But he then smirks, saying that it's assuming that their mage doesn't die and quickly park our offs to somewhere. He then arrives at some place and finds the mage who is being protected by other team members. One of them also notices Hajin sitting on the tree and notifies its members about him. They immediately attack him and Hajin runs away, wondering if he doesn't have any talent in infiltration. Meanwhile, their supporter is surprised that Hajin as a shooter came to them alone, and asks him what is he thinking, as Hajin shoots at them while hanging from the tree. But all of his bullets are stopped by the supporter using his axe as a shield. Hajin gets down and starts running and gunning at them, while their supporter asks her if her buffs are going well, to which she replies that they are all fine. Hajin notes that he is hiding himself really well, but even then, he believes that he would be able to easily shoot him down from above. And so they plan something and the warrior rushes towards Hajin, which makes him question if he is planning to take him down on his own. But which in return works great for Hajin as he jumps up and grabs onto a rock, thinking that there is no way they can catch him in a place like this with many obstacles. And so Hajin makes fun of them while running and the supporter and the warrior starts to get annoyed, with the former saying that he is unable to catch Hajin at all, which is a pain in the ass. He then uses one of his skills, combine and forms, and brings multiple shields together. And it creates a perfect round ball made completely of shields, seeing which, Hajin comments if he is an armadillo or something. Their warrior tries to land a powered-up attack on Hajin but he backflips over it. And while in mid-air, he goes over their shields, saying that no matter how much they block, a shield would still be a shield. And he is also able to see it clearly. Their shield's blind spot, as the bullet he shot curves around and goes right inside the shield through a small gap. Yohei is shocked upon the buffs getting removed and we see the mage is knocked out. And the announcement is made as well, that his team mage has been retired, which is quite shocking for him. Meanwhile, Hajin thinks that if the mage had even one barrier cast on him, he wouldn't have knocked out in one shot. His mistake was trying to preserve his mana. Their team try to call Hajin coward, to which he replies, while smirking, "Who are they calling a coward?" as it's just them being strategic, as we see Yunha is getting pushed with his mana being consumed at a really rapid rate. And so he starts to get scared, thinking that he is screwed, and is losing his strength. Meanwhile Toma takes care of their archer and Hajin simply hides in a tree up top. And with that, Team Rachel gets an overwhelming victory. Back in the waiting area, Rachel tells everyone that they did really great, and they tell her that she did great as well. Hajin notes that she seems to be in a good mood, and her voice and gestures are slightly different than usual. She then looks towards Hajin, saying that he did especially well, as they were only able to win because he took out their mage, and he replies that it was a decision that he made on his own. Hozun comes along and puts his arm around him, saying that if he failed, he would have been a troll, but since he succeeded he is a hero. And their team was apparently really surprised when he said that he would go and bring back the head of the mage, which made them think that he was Guan Yu or something. Now after the match, Hajin wonders if he worked too hard, and Naun arrives from behind and calls him out, saying that Suho told her to tell him that he put up a great fight. Hajin asks if Suho said that and she replies, he did, and he just went into his match. She then asks that the shot he just made, his bullet made a turn, how did he do that? And he gives a one-word answer, that it was just his talent, and she replies that it's a boring explanation. She then goes on that she wanted to fight quickly as well, but her match is only in the afternoon and evening, and Hajin gives an half-hearted response in return. Suddenly, as they are walking, he notices Shin and Yunha standing. And Shin starts to glare at Hajin, questioning, why is he talking to Naun, and Hajin notices his glare, wondering if he is acting in a thriller movie or something with that glare. Naun looks at him as well, and asks Shin, why is he glaring at them, and he starts smiling towards her. And runs towards him like a dog, saying that he wasn't glaring at anyone. Meanwhile, Hajin asks Yunha if she is on his way to her match, and she replies that her team is next. And while walking past by her, he tells her 5.56mm bullet, around 600 rounds. Hearing which, she asks, why is he suddenly talking about assault rifles bullets, and he replies that he just felt like it could be helpful information to her. She replies that he should know that high-grade magic bullets costs around 200,000 won per bullet, and he replies that 120 million is nothing, and if she is telling him that it's impossible for her. But she chuckles and asks him to not insult her like that, and asks if there is anything that he needs, and he replies he is good with the rest, he just needs the bullets. She then informs him about the mountain ginseng, and the elixir will be completed in 2 weeks, but there is something else as well, and Hajin asks if she wants to know if he have more, and she replies she thinks that it would take some time to find a place to do business with for her. So Hajin tells her that while he cannot guarantee that he can get more, but if he do get some, he would trade them for some stocks in her pharmaceutical company, and asks if that would be fine with her, and she gets elated hearing that, saying that it would be easy to do, and that she would be counting on him for that. Behind them, Shin asks Naun, why is she being friendly with someone like him? And she blushes and asks, what nonsense is he talking about, and he replies, if she has forgotten about it, that she said she disliked him. Naun gets flustered and tries to disagree, saying that she had some misunderstanding back then, and Yunha gets a bit flustered as well, telling Hain that Shin doesn't know him well, so he should ignore what he just heard. And Hajin replies that he doesn't care about him, so she shouldn't worry, and since he said what he needed, he leaves. On the way, he thinks that while he don't feel great, but this is the type of story settings it's supposed to be. Jonghak is a descendant of the prime minister that served the king for a long time, and he is also the grandson of Shin Mangchul, the great hero who saved Korea as it was starving after outcall happened. So it's natural that he feels a strong pride for his bloodline and status, and with that, he seems to have arrived back at his dorm, as he tells Evangel that he is back home. And suddenly, Evangel comes running towards him while shouting his name, and Hajin asks her if everything is okay. She quickly hugs him without saying anything, and he asks if anything happened, or if she is hungry. But he gets shocked upon looking at her crying face and asks her what happened. Evangel starts crying a lot, saying that Whitey has scratched her, and she shows a tiny scratch on her palm, seeing which Hajin is left speechless. And so he thinks that the first ironclad rule of raising a child is to never show them that you are annoyed. And so, he picks her up and asks how did that happen, and she replies that she doesn't know how, but calls Whitey bad anyways. And claims to have never done anything, and Hajin is confused, thinking that Whitey scratched her without her doing anything. He knows that Whitey is a grade 4 in mana affinity, beasts with high mana affinity recover quickly, live longer, and are very smart, so a creature like that wouldn't scratch its owner without a good reason. And as gets inside the room, he notices cat treats lying around and remembers that he told Evangel to feed them to Whitey once a day. And so, he questions Evangel, why are there so many open packets of cat treats? And asks if she was eating them, which shocks Hajin, and Evangel doesn't say anything and tries to feign ignorance. She gets nervous and tells Hajin that she was curious about how good they tasted because Whitey liked them so much, so she just tried to taste them a little. And so Hajin realizes that it is what got Whitey angry and tells Evangel to not do that again. Suddenly, Hajin's watch buzzes and he gets a happy birthday message from Rachel. She sends him a digital cake set as well, and so Hajin realizes that today is his birthday. Now we switch scenes to Naun, who is pouting and seems to be looking at something. And it's Yunha's post, seeing which, she says that she is suddenly active on social media just because they finished the test. And from that post, she also gets to know that she is close with her team members, and thinks to perhaps celebrate with her team as well, but immediately drops the plan since their presentation was a mess already. From that she also remembers her fight with Yunha, and the fact that she hasn't talked to her since that day, and also realizes that she was the one who was at fault, and now wants to make up with her. She starts to roll over and get frustrated, trying to think what should she say to her. And so, she starts by liking her post first. She then scrolls and also sees Shin Jonghak's post, looking at which, she thinks if they are some kind of gangsters or something, and wonders, when will he stop being so childish? She then Suho's post, who posted a picture with Hajin, seeing which, Naun wonders if Suho is doing this on purpose, and starts to compare on how they both look. And below their post, she also notices a comment from Yunha, and wonders, what is she doing here, and calls her intention too obvious. But soon enough, she starts to get bored of scrolling, and when she is trying to see if she has any unread messages, she notices something. And sees that it's Hajin's birthday today, and thinks to perhaps buy him a digital gift, and a cake at that. But decides not to, thinking that if she is going to give him something, then she should give it in person. But that thought causes her to blush hard and get embarrassed, as she wonders if she has gone mad to do that, and doesn't consider herself to be that close with him to do that. And so, she decides to not give him any presents at all, and simply send a happy birthday message to him instead. Now few minutes have passed since she has sent the message, and she already starts to wonder, why is he not replying? And so, he finally replies, with a simple thank you, which disappoints her. And so, she clicks her tongue and goes back to bed, saying that he is acting all chic, that little rascal, while being annoyed. Now fast forward to Thursday, which marked the end of all the tests, and while Hajin didn't do very well on the individual tests, he did very well on the team tests, due to which he was able to rank within 200, which he was aiming for. And with this, he should be able to get a bigger room in his second year, though it's not something that he is concerned about right now. We see him packing a lot of stuff, as he wonders if all of this would be enough. His watch again buzzes, with a notification that Cube will be on break next week, which is a good news for him as they won't be attending classes, which is all because of the external investigation. But even the investigators won't be able to find anything out of place, but the demonic humans that have infiltrated Cube should be laying low for the time being, but the important thing is the next part of the message. It's the field trip hosted by the Jinsung Foundation, which is the main story this time. On this field trip, the main characters will be caught by the wraiths of the past. It's an important artifact that will provide tremendous growth to everyone, so he has to make thorough preparations. Suddenly, Evangel comes crying to Hajin that Whitey ate the chicken, but he consoles her that it's fine, nothing bad would happen to her, and she replies, it's not what she meant. She is crying because it was the last piece of the fried chicken, and Hajin, while slightly annoyed, asks if this is the problem. Now fast forward to evening, we see Yunha handing over the bullets to Hajin, with the magazines that can hold up to 45 bullets, so she actually put up 900 bullets in there. And Hajin thanks her for that. She then reaches her pocket and also gives him another thing. Hajin notes that it's a wrist guard, and Yunha tells him that she heard the wrist is the most vulnerable when he is using the firearm. So, since his birthday was on Monday, she got him this, though she wanted to give it to him right on his birthday, but she was busy because of the exams, and Hajin once again thanks her for that. And so, she leaves while saying, CYA around, and he replies her back as well. He smiles seeing her go, thinking that it's hard to imagine that he would be receiving gifts from Yunha of all people. But as he looks at the clock, he notices that it's already late, and he is going to be late for his appointment. And so, we see him meeting up with his teammates, as Hosung asks if he is trying to be late because he is the main character, and he apologizes and replies that he had something to do before this. Rachel seems excited and asks if they can go in now, since Hajin is here. And so, we see them going to a karaoke, as Rachel peeks into someone singing. Hosung buys the ticket at the counter, and they tell them to go room 17. Rachel seems nervous and starts looking for room 17, and once they find it, they all head in. While going there, we see Naun coming out of room 16 to get some water, as she encounters Hajin. And upon seeing him, she gets quite shocked. She starts to wonder in shock, what is he doing here, and is quite flustered as she dressed casually since she was just coming here to have fun. He asks if she is here to sing as well, and she reluctantly replies, she is. Since written tests are over, she and her friend asked her to come relieve some stress. And she asks him, who did he came with, and upon peeking inside the room, she is surprised to see Rachel. She seems to have gotten a bit annoyed, knowing that he is with her and his teammates. Hajin then asks if she is going to the Jinsung Foundation field trip, and she replies, she is, and asks if he is going as well. Suddenly, one of Naun's teammate comes out, telling her that it's her turn, and so Hajin leaves as well, saying they would talk next time again, and she says, CYA as well. Though looking at him going to her, seems to have annoyed her as she clicks her tongue. Now as Hajin walks in his room, he thinks that it's been a while since he went into karaoke, back when he was in reality, he never frequented to karaoke place much either. Suddenly, Hosung's hand comes out as he grabs Hajin and tells him to run away with a dreaded expression. He is shocked seeing that, and asks, what is he suddenly talking about, and we see his other teammates lying on the floor as well. And from this, Hajin remembers something, that Rachel loves singing, as she notices that he is back. And he also remembers that she is a terrible singer, and wonders, why did he design her like this? Now fast forward, Hajin is back in his dorm. He thinks that his plan to put the sapling's dust in the bracelet and giving it to Rachel is perfect. But the question is, he doesn't know how can he give it to Rachel. Originally, he was going to figure out the effects of this with the future Suho, but if he wants to reduce the gap between this story and the original, he would need to give it to her quickly. But even if he were to give it to her somehow, just wearing the bracelet won't have any effects. And just then, he gets a message from Rachel, as he wonders, why did she message him? And she is asking Hajin to teach her a little, how can she better control her magic power, seeing which surprises him, as he wonders, why does she have to learn from him? But he soon realizes that this situation works for him. And so, fast forward to night, he meets up with Rachel, who comments that he is already here. She thanks him for coming out, even though it was a last-minute request, and he tells her to not worry about it, while thinking that he is the one who is thankful to her. He asks Rachel if there is really anything that he can teach her, and she replies, to not say that. She reviewed the fight today and found there were lots of areas that she can improve in. If it weren't for Hajin, she believes they wouldn't have gotten such good results. Which is why she wants to ask for his help, and so she once again requests to help her, and asks, how can she become strong like him? Hajin replies that it sounds to him that she is saying that she wants to try his training routine. And while trying to be serious, he tells her that it's going to be very tough, and asks if she can handle it, and she replies she will try nervously. Now first things, they sit down and Hajin asks her to try sitting like he is. She tries to do but struggles, seeing which, Hajin tells her she can sit however she wants if it's hard for her to sit like him, but she replies that she can do it. But in the end, she couldn't do it, and ends up sitting her way, asking Hajin if it's okay, who replies that it is. He then asks her to reach out her hand to him, which she does. And suddenly, he puts that bracelet on her arm, telling her that it's nothing but a present, which will help her. But she is hesitant to accept, saying that he is already training him. Would it be okay for to accept the gift as well? And he replies, it's just a normal bracelet so she shouldn't worry about it, and she thanks him for it. And now, Hajin starts by saying that he first wants her to straighten her body, maintain that posture, and it should be as if someone is pulling her head upwards, and she can just breathe normally. In that state, he wants her to try focusing on the movement of mana. It should be flowing uniformly from her fingers to her toes, and she replies that doing it like this does seems harder than usual. Hajin replies it means she is doing it right, while thinking that it's actually a meditation method that he found last minute on YouTube, but if she is feeling it, then it's all that matters. though he now thinks that he has laid enough bait, and asks her, starting from her left hand, try circulating the mana, and she asks, does he mean from the bracelet? And he agrees, saying that it should feel like the energy of the bracelet is spreading throughout her body. And so, she starts circulating it through her body, thinking that it's a familiar sensation. It is as if she feels the nature is speaking to her. And upon opening her eyes, she is able to see spirits and gets excited. And so, Hajin congratulates her for becoming a spirit summoner, and she is unable to believe at this. He asks if she has ever checked whether she had an affinity with spirits before, and she replies that she did once when she was younger and got good results for it, but gave up because she couldn't find a training method to control spirits. Hearing this, Hajin thinks that Rachel's personality and talent are perfect for controlling spirits, but because the methods to develop the spirits aren't advancing right now, it's hard for her to achieve this herself. The dust of the butterfly spirit that seeded deeply into her body probably acted as the passageway between Rachel and the spirits. And due to this, Rachel thanks Hajin for the help. He replies that he didn't do much, thinking that Rachel should be able to grow much stronger without too many problems from now on. But suddenly, Rachel stands up and draws her sword, which surprises Hajin. And she suddenly attacks Hajin, though it was aimed at behind him. She tells Hajin to be careful as someone is there, and targeting them, which shocks Hajin as he looks behind. And he realizes that there aren't many people who will be after him, meaning that person's target is not him. And we see a hooded guy coming out of the bushes while laughing, saying that while she did through an attack, but seeing how unaware she is of who he is, the spirits must have told her of his existence. And as the guy removes his hood, Rachel is shocked seeing that it's Lancaster, as he tells Rachel that it's like always, she cannot do anything by herself. He then calls out to Hajin and tells him to be careful, saying that the affection he shows to Rachel will one day transform into a blade that turns on him. But Hajin defends Rachel and puts his arm forward, saying that it's none of his business. And asks him, why is he going so far to harass Rachel, since if all he wanted to ambush them, then he would have attacked them when they were defenseless. And just what is he after? Rachel nervously tells Hajin that he has a grudge against her. And Lancaster replies, if she really thinks that he would do this just because of his grudge against her. In shock, Rachel asks, what does he mean? And Lancaster calls her arrogant for having such thoughts, and tells her that she is not even his target of revenge. The targets of his vengeance are those who threw away, insulted, framed, and even exiled those who offered their lives to them. Which is none other than the imperial family themselves, while she is nothing but one of the means by which he can take his revenge. Rachel grips her sword tightly and replies that he was someone who had more pride as a knight than anyone else. So, does he really have to do this? And Lancaster replies, doesn't she know it well? What he did for a certain someone, and how it ended up for him. But he is apparently only here to talk today, so there is no need for them to worry according to him. And suddenly, he throws a person towards them, calling it his farewell gift. And he seems to be dead, seeing which, they are both shocked and filled with fear. That person is one of the agents that have been protecting Rachel like a shadow, and so Lancaster leaves, while saying that he will always be watching her, she should never forget that. Hajin wonders if he really left, meanwhile Rachel seems to be still in shock after what happened. Hajin thinks that he knew Lancaster would be approaching Rachel really soon, but he was just supposed to send a few assassins and then retreat after they are defeated by Rachel's awakening. He wasn't expecting him to kill someone like this. And so, he decides to report it to the Cube right now, but he knows that the upper management of Cube are already rotten to the core, and are working with the demonic humans. And so, they would probably hide this incident somehow as well. Now fast forward, and Rachel is in her dorm, talking to her butler, and informing him what Lancaster said, and she also tells him that she cannot believe he really just left. Something is not right, as before he even sent assassins to harm her. The butler asks if she can tell him more details about the situation, and she replies that back then she was training with a friend in the park, and her friend gave him a bracelet before training. The butler inquires about it, and she continues that he said it would help her in training, which gets him thinking. And so, he tells Rachel that he thinks that Lancaster has wrong idea about her relationship with his friend, which surprises Rachel. Lancaster lost someone important to him in the London incident, so perhaps he wants her to experience the very same pain that he did. Which gets Rachel to shout, why? And why would he have such a ridiculous misunderstanding? And she thinks if the butler's guess is right, then Lancaster is too mistaken, since right now she believes she is not in a position to have feelings for someone. She remembers what Lancaster told Hajin before, that the affection he shows to Rachel will one day transform into a blade that turns on him, and thinks that back then, she wasn't able to see what expression Hajin made. So she questions, what expression did he have, and would he hate her? Seeing her like this, the butler asks if she is alright, and she replies, she is. She thinks that it's for the better. If Hajin is disappointed in her, then he would naturally distance himself from her, which would be better for everyone. And suddenly, the butler starts to chuckle, telling Rachel that she sure have changed, and she is confused hearing that. And he replies that she always liked running around recklessly, and she gets embarrassed and replies that it was when she was still childish, and he continues that back then, she was just a child who would go and play right after finishing her homework. But regardless, the butler plans to hold a meeting to decide on whether they will give her more bodyguards or hire skilled mercenaries to guard her from now on. And Rachel agrees with him, but also asks if the agent who died in the line of duty today had a family, and the butler replies he did not. So Rachel asks him to give the best treatment possible, and she will attend his funeral as well. Now after this, she again lies on her bed, thinking that another person has died because of her, and wonders how many times would the situation repeat itself. And so, she retorts that she has to become stronger quickly. She then notices the bracelet that Hajin gave her, and remembers him telling her that it's just a normal bracelet, and smiles upon remembering that. And so, she quietly closes her eyes and sleeps. All the while, she is holding on to it. Meanwhile, Lancaster seems to be standing on top of a building, telling Rachel that affection isn't something that she can avoid just because she don't wish to give it to anyone. Now fast forward to after some time, they reached a milestone of the main story. We see Jonghak getting angry at Hajin for being 2 minutes late, saying that he has gotten too cocky and he simply apologizes to hhim. Other than him, the rest of the field trip participants were as same per the novel. Their destination is Wind Mountain, which is located on the outskirts of Seoul, and 800 meters above sea level. And the summary of the main story this time is: everyone, including Kim Soo-ho, will be caught by the wraith of the past on the Wind Mountain. And that wraith will send everyone back to the 1970 when the outcall occurred. But technically speaking, it's a magic dimension that reenacts a part of the history, and Naun asks Jonghak, what are they going to do there? And he replies that there is tons of things to do. His family owns the Wind Mountain, and 50 years ago, a magic explosion took place on it, so the mana density there is super high. So they would meditate on top of the mountain and do some sparring, which makes Naun excited. Meanwhile, Hajin thinks that while he don't know if it would be fun, it would definitely be eventful. And although everyone had a tough time in the novel, he believes that it would turn out fine since they have him this time. And so with a smug face, he mentally tells everyone that they should be thanking him, and seeing him like this, Yunha is quite disgusted. We now get a flash forward, as everyone wonders, why is the ground so flat, despite them being sure of climbing the mountain? And Suho looks behind with nervousness, asking everyone if they have seen Hajin. And Hajin narrates that back then, he had forgotten of what might happen. We go back in time a bit, as all of them arrive at the Wind Mountain, and Yunha is quite amazed upon seeing it. Naun seems to be humming and in good mood as well, saying that it's a good place for picnic, which Hajin kind of agrees with. But seeing Hajin's mild reaction, she asks if Jonghak has rubbed off on him, and he replies, that's not it, making Shin annoyed at her remark. Their assistant then tells them that there is a house on top of the mountain, and the master that Jonghak has invited would be arriving late at night there. Naun excitedly asks Jonghak, who is that master, but he simply tells her that she would be shocked upon seeing him, and tells everyone to get to climbing since they would need to reach there by 3 p.m. While walking they seems to be enjoying and looking around the mountain. Fast forward a bit and they all start to pant, as they question how long they have been walking, and asks Jonghak if it's supposed to take this long to climb up. But he replies that he thinks they might have gone in the wrong direction, and Hoseong thinks something is weird, as they have definitely climbed the mountain, and yet he questions why did the ground become flat. And Suho notices Hajin is missing, and asks if anyone has seen him. Naun replies that he has been following them all this time. But when they look back, he is nowhere to be found, making Naun think that he is pranking them, and Yunha gets nervous as well, as he was just behind them a moment ago. Naun realizes that he has really gone missing, and Jonghak tells her to calm down, while saying that Hajin is an idiot, so he probably couldn't catch up properly, and must have gotten distracted by all the precious herbs here. But regardless, they decide to find him first, since he might have gotten lost. But suddenly, the ground starts trembling. They wonder what is happening, and as Yunha looks up in the sky, she gets terrified upon noticing the sun. Suddenly, the whole landscape changes, and they all seems to have gotten surrounded by tall grass. But Hosung notices that the earthquake has stopped for now, and Yunha wonders if nature magic did this. And as she is trying to their eyes on what happened, Suho stops her, as they see someone approaching them with a light. The person, upon noticing them all, says that he thought it was some mountain beasts, but they are just kids. And we see it's some middle-aged guy, who asks them, what are they doing here? And then asks if they lost their way, while telling them that explosions can happen anytime here, since it's danger zone. Hosung wonders if it's mana explosion, and Yunha wonders if he is talking about mana explosion that they read about in textbook. Though, she does say that it's a phenomenon that happens rarely. And Suho comments that there are too many things that they don't know about, but for now, he suggests to follow that guy to get out of here, and they should be able to meet up with Hajin at the destination they are supposed to be at. As they get to the city, they are quite confused, seeing as how everything is destroyed, and wonders, what and where is this place? The guy replies that it's the only safe place near here, and asks if they don't know about Gwangmyeong City Hall. Hearing this surprises Suho, and Naun asks if it's the same place that they passed by in a car, but this one is in total ruins. Suho then nervously asks the guy if he knows what date is today, and he replies he doesn't have any idea, as they don't have energy to keep track of something like that. But Suho asks for a rough idea, and upon thinking, he replies that it's around 1972, which shocks all of them. Suho realizes that it all makes sense now, the ground that suddenly became flat, a situation that felt out of place in their era. They have somehow gone back to Gwangmyeong City in 1972. Though, he questions, how did that even happen, and suddenly someone grabs Naun by her arm, telling her that it's dangerous to stay outside, but she gets angry and tells him to let go of her. Jong-hak arrives and pulls the guy, while angry telling him to let go of her. Suddenly, the middle-aged guy snaps his finger and others arrive as well, as he tells Jong-hak to not be too harsh, as they are not bad people with a wicked expression. Realizing that it's a trap, Suho quickly takes out his weapon, but notices something wrong. He notices that he cannot gather any mana, and same thing happens with everyone else as well, while their ambushers gets ready to attack them. And as they are all completely surrounded, Suho asks them the reason for doing all this. And the guy replies, who knows, it's perhaps they could become a threat to them. But suddenly, someone fires a bullet at them, as they notice that it's an ambush. And we see it's Hajin with his bike and shotgun, and seeing him they all remember him and get scared, calling him the monster that eats human. Due to him, they all try to run off, as the guy plans to report this back quickly to Azura. But before they all run away, Hajin fires his shots and takes care of all of them. Everyone is left quite shocked by this. And Suho questions, who is that person, as he doesn't recognize his Hajin. But Jong-hak immediately rushes to attack and unmask him, since Hajin is not doing himself. He tries to tell him to stop, but Jong-hak lands a solid strike on his helmet regardless. And as his helmet flies away, we see him getting a slight scratch from the strike. As he tells them that he should give him a chance to speak before attacking him. And greets them by saying, long time no see. We go back in time a bit when Hajin disappeared. He realizes that he was wrong, since just because they were in the same time period and space, he thought he would be sent back to the same point in time as them. And as Hajin turns his head around to look at Frog, the next moment, he is transported back in time. In that brief moment of letting his guard down, the place he arrived in the past was Gwangmyeong, but way before Suho and others arrived. A whole 5 weeks earlier at that. At first, he fell into despair, but the situation was better than he thought. He apparently overlooked that in the original novel, only 5 people were sent to the past, so the current situation is actually the correct version. The demonic humans that were trying to rule over this place were way stronger than expected, and he had many things to do before Suho and the rest arrived. He set up his base at a distance from the enemies where he was still able to observe them. And he attacked them, and prevented them from growing any stronger. Just like that for 40 days, he ate meals by himself, shot at enemies by himself, grew stronger by himself, and ran away by himself. And finally he met up with the others, as everyone starts to follow him, and Suho asks if it's really that place. And Hajin agrees that it's really Gwangmyeong in 1972, a living hell where outcall had only taken place 1 year and 3 months ago. Suho asks, how long has he been here? And Hajin thinks and replies, a year, which shocks them all. But seeing their reaction, he He quickly takes back his lie, and answers correctly that it was about 5 weeks. But they all don't seem to believe in him, and Hajin replies that he is serious and had a decent life here as well. Jong-hak asks if he has figured out what caused the phenomenon, and he replies he has roughly. But he tells them to head to his base first before they talk any further. Jong-hak mockingly asks if this his base, and Suho with a crying expression asks if he really lived here for a year, and Hajin gets annoyed, saying that he should believe him when he says that he was here for 5 weeks. Both Yunha and Naun are quite in dread upon saying the base, as Yunha comments that there is really nothing here, but Naun replies, it's not true, there is something here. And it's a cockroach, seeing which, they scream on top of their lungs. Yunha almost passes out, while Naun gives Hajin a thumbs up saying that she really respects him now, and Hajin sighs while telling them to wait a bit. He infuses his mana into the magic tent and it inflates it to regular size. Naun is quite surprised seeing a tent appearing, and Hajin asks them to eat since they must be hungry, and everyone gets excited learning he has food as well. But Hajin then states there is a problem, they would need to slaughter to eat. Everyone is quite surprised hearing that, and Hajin says that he ate all the food that he brought in case of emergency, so there is nothing that can be done about it. Suho volunteers for it, stating that he is good at it, and Hajin asks Younghan to help Suho out as well. Jong-hak makes fun of Suho, saying that it's the perfect job for him, and Hajin hands him over a bucket, telling him to get them water from a stream nearby. He gets angry upon getting an order from Hajin to do that, but Hajin asks Naun to go along with Jong-hak, which immediately causes him to change his mood, as Naun gets ready to go. Yunha gets annoyed, as Hajin sent Naun along with Jong-hak, and seeing her reaction, Hajin wonders if she is upset because he sent Naun with Jong-hak instead of her. And so, Hajin states that after they bring back water, he plans on cooking ramen. Yunha confirms if he just said ramen, and he replies and asks if it's not up to her rich standards. She immediately gets happy, saying, while that it cannot be helped, it's better to eat it instead of starving to death. Now fast forward a bit, and they have settled up the tables and tents. Suddenly, Yunha remembers and asks Hajin, why can't they use mana here, as they could have done this all in minutes if they could. Hajin replies, in this time period they cannot use mana that they brought from future, but if they wait for a little, it would start accumulating again. The mana density is way higher and richer here since the outcall happened recently, but it's way rougher and harder to control, so it would take about a week for them to get used to it. And so, all the rich kids here should stop being fussy and start eating the food. As they would need to eat up so they can fill up mana faster, the beasts here contains a lot of mana. And so, Jong-hak finally takes a bit, surprising Naun that he is eating that. Since looking at the food, she feels like she would get an upset stomach if she eats it, but regardless, she decides to eat it since she doesn't have any choice. And upon taking a bit, she finds really incredibly delicious as her whole expression changes. She loudly exclaims, how is this so good? And Hajin replies, that mana density here is higher than mana density on Baekdu Mountain in the present, so the meat here should be better than most high-quality meat. And hearing that, Naun quickly picks up a lot of meat at once, seeing which Yunha thinks that she needs to eat quickly, or she won't have enough meat. Now after they are finished eating, Hajin begins explaining them the situation. He explains that they were sent back to the past by a wraith, which Jong-hak finds absurd, as traveling to the past is a top-tier miracle, and how can a mere Roth do that? Hajin replies, originally a Roth wouldn't be able to do that. And ask Jong-hak if there is a Tower of Time on the Wind Mountain, and he agrees, saying that his grandfather conquered it in the year 2000. Hajin explains that the moment the tower was conquered, an unimaginable amount of mana was condensed, and it was left in the present world, which is similar to the floating crystal of the Clancy Islet, in the form of a magic crystal, and so the Roth used the tower's remnants. The mana that was left from the tower leaked out and would become crystals over time. The Roth then used the power and brought them to the recorded world, and Suho asks about the recorded world. Hajin explains that they haven't been sent to the past, but are in a magic space that re-manifested the past of this area, and in this place, there is a demonic human that has been caught by the Roth just like them. She calls herself Azura, and she is using the mana crystals to become stronger. Yunha asks a question, how is she using it to go stronger, as the method to use mana crystals was only developed in the year 2000. And Hajin replies, by eating them, which shocks her, as she asks if that wouldn't endanger her life, and he replies, usually it would, but she was able to digest them without any side effects. And she might have worked together with the Roth to obtain some kind of special power, and Hosung replies, wouldn't that be really dangerous then? And Hajin thinks there is actually no need to be concerned about Azura. While she is a little stronger than she was in the novel, he still definitely has the advantage when it comes to abilities. Though he gets annoyed by the fact that even though he gave her such a beautiful name, she still went with such a nickname. He then hands over one of the crystal to Suho, saying that he would tell all of them how they can get back. He shows the crystal, which is the tower's remnant and is used to maintain this space. Demonic humans have been dispatched to various locations, including the city hall, to place the crystals there. Without them, they cannot manifest the past. Jonghak asks if this is the case, then they would just need to take them, which Hajin agrees with. And Naun and Suho adds that in this case what they must do is obvious. Hajin smirks while replying there are total of 6 places including the city hall with these crystals. Azura and her subordinates will be protecting these places. And so, they would take them down and steal the remnants of the tower. Now fast forward a bit and Hajin seems to have woken up from resting, and Naun is already outside, commenting that he is up early. He replies that he wanted to check if she was doing a good job standing watch, and she gets annoyed hearing that, saying what kind of person does he think she is? And seeing her reaction, Hajin states that he was just joking. He actually got up because he got used to sleeping less, and Naun asks if it's because he is constantly on guard. Though he ignores her and asks her to get off her bike. She then comments about his hair, that it has gotten really long, almost as much as hers, and if it doesn't get in his way. He replies, they do, but he didn't cut it on purpose to make sure a cursed sorcerer wouldn't get hold of his hair, hearing which surprises Naun that they got a cruise sorcerer as well. Hajin continues that he saw one carry a doll around, and Naun comments that she would need to be careful. Staring at the distance, Naun suddenly asks Hajin if Seoul St. Mary's Hospital far from here, and Hajin is a bit confused about hearing that. But he replies regardless, that it would probably take less than 30 minutes to get there on his bike, since Seoul is in that direction. And asks, why is she suddenly asking about that, and she replies, that her mother was born in that hospital in 1972. And so, she was wondering if she might be there, and Hajin replies that the area manifested is only limited to this vicinity, they wouldn't be able to make it to downtown Seoul. And with a bit of disappointed tone, she replies, I see, that's disappointing. Fast forward to evening, we see Suho and Naun seems to be sparring against each other. Suho seems to be getting pushed with that one strike, and Naun is quite happy upon seeing the results. Apparently, after following Hajin's instructions on moving her mana, she gotten used to living in the past now, and at this rate she would be back to her original power soon enough. Suddenly, Suho gives off a confident smirk, and quickly takes down Naun with a single strike, as she states that she lost again. Suddenly, Jonghak throws over his clothes to her, as she asks, why is he giving her this, and he replies, that she is a girl so she should be more careful. Suddenly, Yunha turns back with drool in her mouth, and we see it's Hajin who has brought food, and everyone gets excited seeing him. Suho thanks him for that, and Naun asks, what did he bring today, and Hajin tells her to check it herself, while Yunha is embarrassed at herself for salivating just from hearing the bike engine. Seeing the dishes, they all get really excited as Suho tells everyone to eat up. And so, they all sit down to eat. Naun states that she won't be able to enjoy the food in the present now, and Hajin tells her to eat up and move a lot as it's how she would be able to digest the high-density mana. From this, she asks, why does it hurt a lot when she tries to use mana, and Hajin replies that it's because too much mana is gathered there, she needs to use up the mana to move around it. She then questions, why are they the only one sparring, and why is he not doing that, and he replies that he already did a lot of fighting before they even got here. While thinking that he also got a physical buff, thanks to the high-density mana here, he was able to gain an additional 0.25 times the XP for 50 days. And he got all that without having to work for it. And while they are not in any rush since a year here is only 1 hour on the outside, but starting from the 4th week, the invasion that occurred in the past will begin, so they cannot stay here forever. And so, Hajin starts to briefing to go and secure the crystals. He starts explaining, Kim Minjio at the northwest tower, Ju Parang at southern tower. First, they would attack those 2 places, which have weak fighting force, and they would move out in 3 days. The 2 teams will be led by Suho and Jonghak. They would take the route at night and ambush them. Now fast forward to 3 days later, Jonghak is super annoyed at being paired up with only Hajin. Naun tells him to not act like a child, and Younghan says that Hajin must have a plan, which is why he made the decision. Jong-hak angrily turns towards Hajin and asks, why does he have to be paired up with him? From this, Hajin notes that Kim Min-gyo is about the standard of a lower intermediate hero, so he is not someone who can be taken down alone, but Suho and others won't kill people, even if it's just a recreation, and so he tells Jong-hak that he is the weakest here, so it's natural to balance out by teaming up with the strongest. And hearing this, his mood immediately changes, as he states that he would take this one for the team. Fast forward, and they arrive at the water tower. And he tells Jong-hak to hurry up as he told the others that they would have to clear the mission in 2 hours, but Jong-hak seems to be quite disgusted, stating that he cannot accept the fact that he sat as a pillion to Hajin, and when Hajin questions about it, he angrily replies, the fact that he rode on the same bike as him pisses him off. Suddenly, someone discovers them, and questions their identity, and tells them to go back now. Jong-hak blames Hajin for this, and Hajin replies, if he is serious, all the while they ignore the guy. The guy then prepares to attack them by taking out his nunchucks. Jong-hak gets annoyed and the next panel, we see the guy is knocked out. Hajin states that he would deal with the ones on the outside, as there are about 20 guards around the tower, and Jong-hak replies, who is he to tell him what to do? But once again, Hajin strokes his ego by saying that he needs to take care of the small fries, so the big shots can fight peacefully. Now as the 2 guards are resting, one of them gets hit right in the head. The other one panics seeing it, but before he realizes what happened, Hajin shoots him as well. With that, Hajin has taken down a total of 5 people, while thinking that it's still too much of a toll on his mind, even though they are not really living people. And he is simply unable to get used to it. But setting the thoughts aside, he wonders if the others are doing well. We now switch scenes to Suho's team, and they are wondering, how should they proceed with the plan, and Suho asks Yunha for suggestions. She notes that the steel tower has been imbued with magic, taking it down with her whip would be difficult. Meanwhile, Naun notes that there are around 40 enemies, each around the same level as a cube cadet, and Younghan gets a bit scared hearing that, wondering if it's really possible with just the 4 of them. Yunha notes that there is a difference of rank within the hero grades, meaning that someone of a certain rank would be able to beat 10 people a grade below him. But the difference between their abilities aren't that big, except for one person, which is Kim Suho. And so, she asks Suho to draw as much attention as possible. While a couple of them might stay where they are, most should come after him. And while Suho buys them time, they would subdue the rest of them, and then join up to subdue even more of them. Naun asks if it's not too dangerous for Suho, and he replies that he thinks she suggested the best solution. And so, he gets ready to go and rushes off after flaring his magic power. And when he arrives at the location, he starts off by punching one of them right in the face. The guy gets sent flying and everyone notices Suho and alerts others. They all get distracted by Suho and Yunha notes that her plan worked. And so now, they all jump in from behind as well. Fast forward a bit later, and they have taken down most of the enemies. They start to leave to take care of the tower, and Naun asks Yunha to come as well. But as Yunha turns back, suddenly the guy behind that she took down suddenly gets back up. But she is able to stop him in time, though she does get a part of her hair cut off. She gets quite pissed off from getting her hair cut off, as it took her long time to grow them out, and plans to just crush his head, since he is not a real living person anyways. But decides to let him go in the end, and simply knocks him out, when he asks her to spare his life. And tells him that she is only sparing him because she doesn't want to feel bad after this. We then see Suho and Younghan climbing up the tower to take care of it. Now fast forward to 2 hours later, they all cheers as their raid went smoothly. Younghan asks Hajin if he is not going to eat more, and he replies, he doesn't have much appetite. While both of them note Suho and Naun eating up like crazy, as if they haven't eaten in quite a while. Regardless, Hajin commends everyone for doing a good job, and they should keep going like this and secure the crystals one by one. Suddenly, Yunha starts coughing and Naun asks her, what's wrong, and she replies that her chest is feeling stuffy. Hajin quickly takes notices of it, and gets a bad feeling about it, and notes that she doesn't seem injured anywhere, but notes part of her hair missing. In worry, he quickly stands up and asks about her hair, and she replies that it got cut off while she was fighting, surprising Hajin. He gets worried, thinking that he made a mistake, as he already knew that they won't kill anyone, yet he gave them a proper warning. The enemies must have gathered her hair when the main squad came back, and it must be in the hands of the cursed sorcerer now, and a curse by the sorcerer in this situation would most likely be a curse of weakness. Seeing Hajin's expression, Yunha asks, "What is wrong?" stating that she is not so sick that he looks like that, and Hajin informs them that they have a cursed sorcerer by their side. If they got hold of her hair, and what is she experiencing right now is the symptom of the curse, then her life could really be in danger, hearing which scares both Naun and Yunha. Naun also remembers that Hajin told her about this, but she has forgotten about it since she thought that it wasn't important. Hajin replies that it was his mistake, as he only mentioned it briefly to her. And so, the atmosphere gets tense and everyone goes silent. Yunha smiles, asking about their serious looks and saying that they don't know if it's a curse for sure yet. And that she actually has pretty high resistance for magic, so she can easily overcome something like a curse. But Jonghak comes in and pats her head, telling her to tell them if she is in pain. And it causes her to blush really hard as she stutters while saying that she doesn't think she is in any pain, while Jonghak calls it out as a lie. He gets quite pissed, saying that they would be busy reorganizing the place they just raided, so he thinks that it would be best for them to destroy other places completely before dawn breaks. And asks if anyone agrees, and Hajin does, saying that if it's really the curse of weakness, then they don't have time to take things slowly, so Suho gets ready to depart quickly as well. Yunha tries to go as well, but Naun tells her to rest. She tries to argue, but Hajin says that with all of them going, they would be back soon. Thinking that Jonghak has a trait that increases his physical ability the angrier he gets, and it's time for that ability to shine. We now switch scenes to Azura, who is informed by his henchmen that the water tower and the weapon storage were raided and all the crystals were stolen overnight. They apologizes to him, and he tells them to not make a fuss, as they have already found out who they are. He knows Suho and Jonghak, the two promising cube cadets, an unexpected harvest for him. And if he were to offer both of their heads, becoming the executive of the evil of destruction won't be far off. And so, he orders his men to gather the remaining crystals and bring them to the city hall. He knows that if they retrieve the crystals, then the people of the past that are in charge of them will be weakened, but since they have a cursed sorcerer on their side, it's the best solution they have. Since there is no way that they would just let their friend die. He then gets up and starts walking, calling them pitiful brats, assuming that they would ruin their own plans being swept away by emotions. Now day one after the curse of weakness activated, just as it was expected, Yunha lost her strength. And by the time they realized that there was something strange about the crystal, Azura had already retrieved all the crystals and taken them to the city hall. On day 2, the life began to drain from Yunha's eyes. And by the third day, she couldn't even stand up, while Suho informs Hajin that there are no movements from Azura from inside the city hall. And a week later, she is unable to even eat things. And at this rate, her life could really be in danger. Jonghak and Suho comes back, informing Hajin that today was the same as well, no one came out of the city hall. Hearing this, Hajin is quite surprised as he wasn't expecting Azura to take a different strategy than he did in the novel, and assumes that he probably wants them to go there themselves if they don't want to see their teammate die. Jonghak angrily states that they don't have a choice, they need to do what that Azura wants them to do. Younghan asks if they're going to charge in the city hall then, as they have only 4 people while they have a lot more. Hajin replies that it won't be a problem, since if the crystals are gathered in one place, then the past will become unstable. And since the residents are manifestation of the past, they will get weaker as well, so there should only be around 200 people to fight, and among them, only handful of them are to be wary of, including Azura. And if the 4 of them charge in there, they would have a pretty good chance at winning. Naun angrily states that 200 people are nothing, and plans to kill all of them herself. Suho speaks up about the main problem, which Hajin also realizes. The fact that they cannot leave Yunha alone, as there is a chance that they might attack her. Someone has to protect her until they kill their curse user, and they cannot bring her along either on the battlefield. Suddenly, Hajin gets an idea and realizes something, noting that they can use the magic crystals that they stole. And so, he tells everyone that he would protect both Yunha and the crystals. Younghan replies that they don't know how many enemies might come here. But Hajin says that it would be fine as he has his bike as well. If something goes wrong, he is confident that he can bring Yunha with him and escape. And with this, he asks for their opinions, as he thinks that it's the best strategy they have, so Suho also agrees to it, as it's the only choice they have right now. Younghan also agrees, and tells everyone that they should get their bodies warmed up since they're going to be attacking at night. And an angry Jonghak states that he will rip Azura to shreds. Now fast forward to night, as all of them arrive at the city hall. Naun notes that the grass here is withered, which makes her wonder if this is what Hajin meant by past losing its strength. Suho notes that even thought the city hall is right up ahead, there is not a single person in sight, and if they are this close, they should have noticed their presence, and Yunhan calls it an obvious trap. Suddenly, a bunch of guys appear on top of a bus, saying that they should know children are not allowed here. And asks, what are they doing here? They note that he is the closest aide to Azura whom Hajin mentioned, Yo Dong-sok. Jong-hak tells him to step aside and asks for Azura's whereabouts, and Dong-sok calls him a rude kid for that. And goes on to say, what if he told him that Azura isn't here? But Jong-hak doesn't believe him and starts preparing to attack while saying that he won't be asking him again. Noticing the dark red mana emitting from Jong-hak, Dong-sok wonders what is up with the color of his mana. Jong-hak then angrily attacks him, shouting to bring him Azura. But Dong-sok is able to dodge the attack by jumping upwards, and compliments him for a fierce attack. But he again tells Jong-hak that Azura isn't really here, but Jong-hak doesn't believe him still, saying, where else could he be? And suddenly realizes what is happening, and Dong-sok smiles while saying that they have left their crystals behind, didn't they? Along with an injured one at that, asking what gives them the confidence to leave them behind, hearing which, they all get scared, as they guessed that they could be targeting their hideout, but not the fact that Azura went there personally. Yunhan turns around quickly, saying that they need to get back quickly. But he gets a sword pointed at him, and we see all of them are completely surrounded. Both Jong-hak and Naun are quite anxious and flustered, with Naun thinking that if they don't get back quickly then Yunha and Hajin would be in trouble. But Suho suddenly starts laughing hearing that. Naun is shocked seeing that, and wonders if Suho has gone crazy. Dong-sok asks Suho if he has gone crazy and asks the reason for his laugh. Suho smiles, while confirming if he just said that their leader went there alone. And we see Hajin also smiling while encountering Azura, as he had waited and prepared a trap for him. He knew that Azura, who is after the magic crystals, will come here personally to look for them. And he actually took his bait as well, while we see Azura laughing thinking that he won. Yunha tugs on Hajin's clothes and asks him leave her behind and run away. But Hajin smiles and tells her to not worry, while on the other side, Suho tells everyone that everything is under control, while openly stating that Hajin is even stronger than himself. Azura notes that it's like the Wraith told her, he has the crystal and the injured person is here as well. He then smirks, thinking that this fight is going to be easy, and calls Hajin a pitiful human, saying that human like him are the reason that he gave up on being one. He hates getting unnecessarily emotional, but Hajin tells him to shut up in between his monologue, and asks if he came here alone, and before he tries to say anything, Hajin again cuts him off, saying that he don't see anyone with him. And Azura once again answers that he has 1,000 soldiers in his army, and Hajin calls his talk quite cheap, stating if this is how he is going to play it, then he too have 1,000 golden calves in his home, and it pisses Azura off. He then shouts and calls Hajin an arrogant brat and tries to show him his power. And we see some monsters appearing out of a portal, which Hajin already expected, as he knew his abilities. He consumes his own mana to call forth a being from the demonic realm. Waves of demonic beasts. Yunha gets up and tells Hajin to leave her behind and run away. But he tells her to not worry, as it would be all over soon. He would be fine as well, so she should rest here, and she falls asleep again while apologizing to him, saying that she would leave him to it. Hajin also gets ready to fight and uses his stigma, and transforms his handgun into an assault rifle. Noting that with the attack damage increase from ether, he was able to increase the inherent attack power of his Desert Eagle, and he won't use up any mana or stamina either, he just needs to pull the trigger. Furthermore, he uses Identify on his weapon and lands a jackpot there as well. And now he infuses a little stigma mana into the crystal, and it causes a large release of mana, and also the surroundings around him changes. And we see the path around him is blocked, and the monsters and Azura are right in front of him. And Azura comments that Hajin knows how to use the crystal, but says that it won't make a difference still, even if he changes the surroundings. Hajin points his weapon, while saying that it will make a lot of difference. We now get a flashback of Yunha, as apparently, her family was called hunting dogs. As people around her laughed at her, Yunha thinks that they can laugh all they want, but in the end, they would all bow down to them. But for that to happen, she has to succeed, and bring greater fame to her family. It was a long wish that she had to fulfill alone. She wonders if it's because how Hajin's back looked. Seeing how he took everything by himself made her feel that she was looking at herself. And we see Hajin quickly dispatching all the monsters quite easily with his new weapon. Looking at which, Yunha is really impressed and calls it incredible. Noting that he created a terrain that makes it impossible for him to be surrounded, and he is shooting vital points of the monsters coming at him accurately. The monsters that are flooding like black wave are disappearing like bubbles. He is not giving them time to attack or get closer. It's a flawless shooting technique. And with this, she starts to feel warmth. It feels so peaceful to her, knowing that someone is protecting her. On the other side, Suho seems to be fighting against the right-hand man of Azura. As his attack blows away the guy beside him, and then he clashes directly with Dongsok. Dongsok asks Suho if he was telling the truth before, and Suho asks, what does he mean? And Dongsok replies, about when he said that the one who stayed behind is stronger than him, and Suho replies, that he don't like to lie. It makes Dongsok ask Suho that he must have sparred with him a lot, and he replies, just once, which surprises him. Suddenly, they both hear a scream, and when they look back, we see it's Jonghak, who is shouting at everyone to get out his way. And Dongsok asks if he is also as strong as Suho, and he chuckles in replies. Dongsok thinks that their plan is completely foiled if the boy over there with his boss is even stronger than these two here. Suho tells him that it's still not too late, they don't have to fight, as they're just being made use of by evil after being possessed by ghost. But Dongsok replies that it's not important in this era, strength is justice. But Dongsok replies that it's not important in this era, strength is justice. And Dongsok seems quite intrigued, saying that Suho has been hiding something interesting. And so, Dongsok also drops his weapon and starts to change his form in return, stating that it's time for him to show his trump card as well. We switch back to Hajin and Azura, as Azura thinks that he didn't sense anything great from Hajin. He was just some kid who was struggling after being driven into a corner, or so he thought at least. And yet, he keeps taking down every monster that comes his way. Azura calls it all impossible, and questions, why is that even after he summoned so many demonic beasts? But Hajin has yet to receive a single injury. And what on earth is his power and reaction speed? He is unable to believe that there is not a single opening against him, even when he is swapping magazine. And at this rate, he won't have any demonic beasts left, and suddenly, Hajin speaks up that there is too many of them, and asks if it's due to Wraith. What does he want? Is it revenge or is it wealth and success? Though whatever the answer it, the results won't change, as Azura starts to get visibly concerned. But soon enough, Hajin runs out of bullets. He takes out the magazine and checks, and it's seemingly empty. And Hajin tells Azura that he doesn't even hate him, he does understand him, he probably had no choice but this in order to become stronger. Hajin knows that the reason that Cheonhwa became a demonic human is simple, it's because he wrote it that way, as Azura smirks, saying that the reason was Hajin talking so much is that he ran out of bullets. He had no backstory, he was just a tool that was to be used for the growth of the protagonist, as he tells Azura that he still have some bullets left. And no matter what kind of life he had, there is where his story will end, and Azura replies that he is doing everything he can to buy time, isn't he? And believes that Hajin cannot do anything, as the magazine doesn't even fit his weapon. And right as he tells Hajin that he would rip him apart, Hajin again starts shooting and bringing down his demonic beasts. As Hajin thinks that no one would have to think if Azura can even be called a villain. He was just an extra, as he tells Azura that is over for him, it's just how the cliché goes, and apparently, Hajin also feels a little sorry for him. A bit later, Naun arrives calling out Hajin's name and asking if he is alive, and he waves at her, while Azura looks scared and nervous. And along with her, everyone is here, even the villagers, as Azura wonders, what are they doing here? And they are surprised to see that Azura really lost. Azura gets angry, thinking that they all betrayed him. And wonders just how much mana and time he wasted on single brat like him. As he realizes that there is no longer a chance for him to win. Suddenly, the Wraith seems to be coming out of Azura, as he tries to convince that he can still go on. The Wraith comes out in the form of floating skeleton, and seems to be flying away. They all get worried seeing it, and Hajin tells them to not worry, as the Wraith cannot do anything on its own, and quickly calls out to Suho. Suho smiles, as we get to know that Mistilteen is able to become stronger by gathering souls. As Suho uses it to absorb the escaping wrath into his weapon, and that Wraith will now stay with Suho forever within the Mistilteen. Hajin finally falls on the ground from being tired, thinking that he don't know how Suho managed to convince the people of the past, but the ending of the story is somewhat similar to the original, and states that his mind is also tired, and just then, we see he has gotten a bunch of rewards and upgrades to his skills. He also obtained 330 SP, which again gets him back. While having Master Sharpshooter at rank 5 is great, the attribute Understanding has now been added to Ether will definitely have effects on his Desert Eagle weapon as well. And as he is analyzing and thinking about his new ability, he slowly opens his eyes and looks in front. And Naun and everyone seems to be quite surprised, and Hajin asks, why are they looking at him like that? And Naun asks, does he think that the situation makes any sense, as we see they were looking at the number of monsters that Hajin just killed. And he tells her that they would disappear since their source of magic power is gone, and Naun replies, it's not what she is talking about. And she blushes slightly, stating that he is making her feel embarrassed for worrying about him. And Hajin then tells her that it's like he said it before, he simply has a talent related to firearms, which is all thanks to his new weapon, as he shows it to Naun and everyone, and they are quite enamored upon seeing it, as Hajin states that this time, he was simply a bad matchup for Azura, as comparing to swinging a sword 2,000 times, it's easier and effective to kill a large number of weak enemies by just pulling the trigger 2,000 times. And everyone is indeed quite taken in by all that and is really intrigued by his weapon. He then asks Suho if he brought the crystals with him, which he did as he hands it over to Hajin. They asks if they would be going back, and Hajin declines, saying that they need to return these crystals back to their original positions. Suho asks, why do they need to do that, and Hajin replies, it would be a waste otherwise. And asks if they have forgotten that this place is basically a gift from the nature, since it's not affected by the time of reality, they can train effectively here. And so, they should stay here for 2 more days, which gets Naun excited. And right now, they also have way more people they can duel against too. Fast forward, and as they are leaving, Suho receives some gift of rice and meat from the locals. It is their thanks for driving Azura away, and Suho asks if it's right for them to receive so many gifts from them. And the old lady replies, of course, since it's all thanks to them that they were able to escape Azura's grasp. He was always on about mana crystals and making them suffer in return, and so, Suho accepts their gift with gratitude. They also asks them come and eat with them, which Naun and Yunha thanks them for. One of them asks Hajin to go and eat with the others, but he replies that he is eating while cooking. He then overhears Naun and others talking about Seoul, and apparently, Gangnam is divided between Shin Mangchul and Chai Juchul. Jonghak asks in excitement, what is Shin Mangchul like, and the old dude replies that he is a good person, and he was the one who brought peace to the Gwanak area, and is also still out there, saving many people, hearing which surprises Jonghak. And hearing them talk quite positively about his grandfather, has seems to made Jonghak made a serious expression for some reason. Naun asks about her grandfather, Chai Juchul, and they reply that he cannot be trusted, and he knows it because he lived in Seoul for a short time, but he always felt like a snake. Hajin notices Jonghak leaving into the forest, and wonders why did he react like that when they talked about Shin Mangchul, as Jonghak's character is supposed to revere his grandfather in the story. Thinking that there might be a problem with the storyline, he quickly rushes off to Jonghak, leaving the cooking to Yunha. As Jonghak is walking alone in the woods, he suddenly sighs, as he has noticed Hajin, and asks, why is he following him, and Hajin panics, wondering, what should he say, as he cannot just say that he is doing this to protect the storyline. Jonghak once again asks him, and Hajin replies, that he wanted to tell him that his meat is ready. And with an uninterested expression, Jonghak simply replies, okay, while Hajin gets relieved that he got through it somehow. Hajin knows that he followed him without a plan, and wonders, what should he talk first? Suddenly, Jonghak calls him out and asks, what does he think about Shin Mangchul, and Hajin realizes that he can confirm Jonghak's reaction with this question and tells him that he is a hero who saved the world, and someone who deserves to be revered by everyone, and Jonghak chuckles and replies that it is what lowly people like him would think. Hajin notes his negative reaction and continues that from what he knew, he hated having classism in the world. And it suddenly causes Jonghak to attack Hajin. But Hajin activates his bullet time and is able to dodge his attack, noting that if that attack would have connected, it would have definitely broken his bone. It is Jonghak's special ability, the angrier he gets, the stronger his physical abilities get, Berserker. And at Jonghak's current speed, Hajin notes that he is at the limit of his anger, but why is he reaction like this whenever his grandfather is mentioned, and if there is a reason that he don't know. Hajin tries telling him to calm down, and Jonghak tells him that people like him are the problem. If they weren't so weak, then his grandfather wouldn't have to sacrifice himself. He would have been still with them, hearing which takes Hajin by surprise as he blocks a punch from Jonghak. Hajin finally crashes on the ground, and tells Jonghak that despite this, he thinks that his grandfather never regretted his decision. Jonghak angrily grabs him by the collar for continuing to talk about it, asking, what does he even know, and Hajin replies, that he protected his family, didn't he? And isn't this the reason why he reveres his grandfather? And so, Jonghak finally calms down and lets Hajin go, saying that he really don't know when to stop acting up. And Hajin finally takes a breather, but Jonghak turns around and tells him that he won't get off easy if he tell others what just happened. And Hajin completely feigns ignorance, saying what is there to even talk about, causing Jonghak to laugh and leave while saying, he knows, but he is just warning him in case he would dare to do anything. And so, it makes Hajin think that there is no problem then. He wasn't expecting Jonghak to miss his grandfather so much, but Jonghak isn't even a villain to begin with. And even though he is the one who created his character, there is still so much that he don't know about him. Suddenly, he gets a notification that he does not have the authority to view the storyline change of Shin Mangchul, which shocks him. As apparently, he is a core character of the story, so a storyline change for him is quite insane. As so, it makes him wonder just what in the world is going on. Fast forward a bit later and Yunha gives Hajin some porridge to give to Yunha, as she doesn't seem to have recovered her strength. But Hajin asks, why is he giving it to him, and Yunha replies, everyone else seems to be talking amongst themselves. Yunha opens her eyes in excitement, thinking that it's Jonghak, but panics upon knowing that it's Hajin. And Hajin realizes and says that she was just pretending to be sick, and she replies that she doesn't even have enough strength to lift a spoon. And so, Hajin ends up feeding her by his hand, as she asks with a full mouth, what is he doing, and he replies that he was feeding her since she doesn't even have the strength to even lift up a spoon. And Hajin thinks that she was probably coming up with a trick to lure Jonghak here, as she tells Hajin that the porridge tastes bland, so does he have anything else? And he replies that there once packet of ramen left, he would give it to her after she finishes this up. And seeing her fully finish the bowl, Hajin says that she is probably fully recovered by now, and suggests to perhaps go out and talk to others. But she again goes to rest, stating that she doesn't have the energy to do that, and Hajin replies to do as she pleases. But as he is leaving, Yunha suddenly gives him a thanks, saying that she is always being helped by him, and Hajin sighs and replies, he knows, and asks sarcastically on when she is going to pay him back. And Yunha replies that she always pays back with interest. And Hajin agrees, saying that she is the kind of person who never shortchanges on that stuff, and Yunha replies that she thinks they could become really good friends. Hearing which, Hajin thinks that considering her future, becoming good friends with her is a shortcut to having a comfortable life. Yunha again speaks up, saying that she can help him get together with Naun, and Hajin replies that he don't need her to do something like that. She quickly gets up, saying to not tell her that he is really into Rachel now, and Hajin replies that he is not into either of them. And he don't have the time for things like that, and Yunha teases him, telling him to stop lying and tell her honestly. And Hajin gets annoyed and tells her that he won't give any ramen to her. And she screams in reply that he cannot do that to her. Meanwhile, Hajin tells Yunha to cook some ramen for Yunha, and he replies that he thought she didn't like instant food. And we can hear them in the background, with Yunha asking Yunha if she wants some ramen, and she acts all sunder, saying that she would have some if he is cooking, while Suho asks Hajin, where is he going, and he replies that he need to go and get something. He apparently wrote some items in the background of this story, but didn't finish when it was published, so they would be useful if he can get them. Fast forward to a bit later, and Hajin gets a new haircut, with Naun being really surprised looking at him, asking, what kind of magic did they do on him? Suho also compliments him that he looks really good, and he even gets a buff due to it. And so Hajin asks his hairdresser's name, and he replies, it's Kim Woo-siak, and Hajin asks him if he got any children's, making Naun laugh. And he replies that he does have a son who is 8 years old, and Hajin decides to find him no matter what in the future. One of the villager compliments him that he looks really handsome, and others also join in that he is the one who completely defeated that tyrant after all. They tells him their goodbye, and finds it quite pity that they are leaving today. And apparently, that's not the only thing they did. They drove out the villains that rode on the cattails of Azura, and brought peace back to this era. Anytime there was even slightest invasion of monsters, they would stop them, and since they did all that, it was inevitable to get closer to them all. Yunha made use of those new friendship to find anyone who might be the ancestor of famous figures in the present day. Young Han and Naun played with kids every day. Jonghat created another clique of his own. And Suho helped the residents with repairing all sorts of facilities, which is so like him. However, it still doesn't change the fact that he killed a lot of people of the past. He is not sure if the city hall's people actually know that or if they are just trying to ignore it. They really welcomes Hajin and treated him nicely as well. With simple and helpful people, the sunshine beaming down on them, and the refreshing wind, they were able to make some good memories. But it was then time of them to leave, as Hajin thanks everyone for what they did for them. And they reply that they are the one who should be thanking them, and asks if they would be able to see them again. They believe that they will do great things and they might read about them in the newspaper, and looks forward to see what they would achieve. With Hajin thinking that it's better for them to now know things, this place is in the past, all of them are nothing but records of the past. Now at evening, Jonghat gives Hajin a crystal. His clique seems sad to see him go, and he also replies that he won't forget them all, as they give him a hug, and Yunhan calls out to Hajin and tells him that he would be throwing a crystal towards him, so he should make sure to catch it. And Yunha and Suho also arrives and hands him over the crystals, and Hajin asks why is she wearing high heels. And she replies that she got them as a gift. There are a lot of people who likes her after all. And upon noticing Naun coming, she quickly drags Suho with her as he tries to give Hajin the crystal. And Naun upon reaching Hajin comments that she seems to be the last one. She also asks Hajin if she can look around, since they are going back now, and Hajin tells her to do as she likes. Meanwhile, Hajin starts infusing his stigma mana into the crystals. And it creates a small ball which Hajin destroys. And with this, we see the past is getting destroyed. Suddenly, Naun calls out to him and asks if they would forget everything that happened, and Hajin replies, what is she suddenly talking about? And she replies, she was just wondering if memories just fall apart as time passes by. As no matter how hard she tries to recall it, she cannot remember her mother's voice. And even her happy memories with her have begun to get fainter. She was wondering if they are all going to go away like this. And Hajin tells her to not worry about that, as there is a saying, flowers that don't wither has no fragrance. Memories are precious since they can be forgotten. Memories must fade and wear down to some extent so that they can become someone's precious memory. And Naun clicks her tongue and replies that it's not comforting at all, and Hajin knows that he understands how scary it can be to forget. He hands her over something, stating that he wants her to do it instead, and she asks, what is it? And Hajin replies, it's a ticket that allows her to go and see the flowers for a little while. Naun asks about the time capsule, and he replies that she can change the number on it to go back to the past. Though it's more like exploring memories buried in her subconsciousness, but Naun tells him that it's not what she is asking. She is asking if didn't he looked for it, since he could use it for himself, and while he agrees with it, he tells her that it's no use for him, since he don't know how they look like anyways. He was holding on to it in case his memories of his parents started to fade. There are many items that he wrote in the settings book for this timeline, but he couldn't find a use for it in his novel. But his current body is of Kim Chuan-dong's, so he don't know whether this would work even if he uses it, so he believes it would be better to let Naun use it than wasting his mana. But Naun replies that she won't be using it either since that's the case, causing him to get shocked, as he asks for her reason. But she replies, if one of them doesn't use it, then other shouldn't either, and calls it loyalty, which is confusing to Hajin. But regardless, he pushes her to use it. Before she regrets it later, she still hesitates to do it. But he tells Het it won't break because it would be kept cherished deep within her heart. So, she shouldn't worry and just use it. He then asks what time she would like to travel to, and she replies, 2013 March 13th. And we see she has traveled to her birthday party on that date, with her being quite amazed that she actually traveled back to this date. She gets really happy seeing her birthday cake, and someone arrives from behind, asking her if she is already eating it. She should wait so they can all eat together. And as she looks behind, she is left shocked. And we see it's her older brother who wishes her happy birthday. Seeing him, she wanted to cry, but she doesn't, believing that she cannot cry on a happy day like this. Because today was the only day where her entire family was together for her birthday. And soon enough, another person arrives with her gift, commenting, have they already started? And seeing her, Naeun's eyes are filled with tears, as she wishes her happy birthday, and we see it's her mom. Naeun quickly runs to her arms and hugs her tightly, and starts crying really loudly, as her mother asks, "What is the matter?" Her parents asks if she was worried that her mother wouldn't come, though they find it understandable since she is still young. Her mom also consoles her, believing that Naeun was scared, and tells her that it's alright, as she will be by her side. And we see her surrounded by her family and happily celebrating her birthday and reliving her memories. They all then prepares to blow out the candles, with her mom telling her that her wish will come true if she closes her eyes before blowing out the candles. Naeun thinks that her wish actually has been granted, since she got to meet her mother again. But she decides to get a bit greedier, and wishes to let her cherish these memories forever, and also to let her meet her older brother again. We now see Hajin is back to the present. When he reopened his eyes, he was back at the mountain. Naeun is also back, as she shouts his name from behind, with him noting that everyone has returned safely as well it seems. The time capsule didn't disappear even though Naeun already used it, but for some reason, required mana recharge appeared. It needed around 15,000 mana, and since it's too much, he decided to give it to Naeun. Hajin suddenly gets a message, while Naeun wonders where everyone else is, believing that they gotta be somewhere close. And looking at Hajin go, she asks him, where is he going? And he replies that he is heading home, to which she asks, what about training? And he replies that he is too tired, which makes sense to her, and so he asks her to tell others for him. But before he leaves, she also smiles and thanks for everything he did today, and offers to treat him something nice sometime, which he agrees for, and notes that she looks happy, as he wonders, what kind of happy past did she saw? And now, we see he has gotten a request from Toma for the money, and decides to finish this task as well. Before coming to the mountain, he made Toma sign a loan agreement and a mana oath. And as soon as he transfers her the money he offered, we see she has immediately completed the transaction, and has deposited the money into his truth agency. And so now, Hajin decides to simply switch out Fan and Jesus to the fake name, Agus Benjamin. Suddenly, he hears some footsteps and looks behind in him, and sees Naeun running down in shock with her panicked expression. He wonders, where is she heading off to in such a hurry? And suddenly, he realizes that the only thing that can cause her to make such a serious face, as he wonders if it's related to Chai Jin-yoon. Hajin quickly rushes down the mountain behind her as well, noting that it must be related to her brother. And upon finding her and judging by her expressions, he realizes that she is thinking how can she reach the place that she wants to go. And so, Hajin quickly starts taking out his bike. He then calls out to Naeun, asking, where does she want to go? And a bit later she arrives at the hospital, where their security was waiting for her arrival. She asks him about her brother's condition, but they tell her to come with them first, but stops Hajin in between, telling him that only official family members are permitted. Seeing this, Naeun halts, thinking that he brought her all the way here and yet he is stopped. But Hajin tells her to not stand around and go in quickly, which she does with her security while thanking him. Meanwhile, we see Hajin being in quite serious mood. Suddenly, Yunha arrives and calls him out. Hajin tells her that she came faster than he thought, and she replies, it's because her family must be involved in all of important matters of Chai family, so she got down and took a helicopter upon hearing the news. Though others would be late because she came rushing in. But seeing Hajin's dreaded expression, she asks him, why is he making such face? Meanwhile, Hajin remembers that he saw the information in Book of Truth that Jin-yoon seed will sprout in 1 month, so he thought that he still had some time, but he overlooked something. The possibility of him regaining consciousness before the seed sprouts. Noting that he would have to kill him if he wakes up and starts trembling on that thought. Yunha notes him sweating hard, thinking that he is that worried and quickly wipes his sweat with her handkerchief, telling him that he didn't regain consciousness, but there were some slight meaningful changes. Though the situation still isn't hopeful, it's not to this extent that a fuss like this should be made. And Hajin gets a bit relieved hearing that, though Yunha also says that Naeun is probably thinking otherwise, since it would be hard for her to keep calm even if slightest signs are shown by her brother. And she also thanks Hajin for bringing her here. She hands him over the handkerchief and Hajin starts to leave, saying that he would go out first. She asks if he is not going to wait for Naeun to come out and say goodbye to her. But he surprises her by saying that he don't think that he should be here. While Yunha asks, what does he mean by that? A bit later we see Naeun waiting outside and Yunha meets up with her. And she gets really happy and hugs Yunha tightly in excitement. Yunha asks her about the situation and she replies, while she don't know, she saw a lot of graph fluctuations and it was different than usual. Yunha says, isn't it a good sign regardless, and she agrees, saying that the doctor said similar thing happened to another case before, and the majority woke up in 3 months. And since her brother needs rest right now, they chased her out of the room. Naun also expresses that her heart is beating really fast right now, so much that she can die. And she finds it really embarrassing for crying, telling Yunha that it's weird, she should be smiling since it's a good thing. But her tears keep on pouring out, and Yunha starts to try and comfort her, thinking that it would be too arrogant for her to say that she knows how she feels, because she has never left someone dear to herself in a tragedy. While Naun waited for years for her brother to wake up, and as time continued, her anger turned into sadness, and sadness turned into frustration. Frustration into despair, and eventually, despair into resigning to fate. And just when she was giving up, she suddenly sees hope again, so she cannot possibly understand how Naun must feel. And just like that, rest of her friends along with Sung-ah is here as well. Though she notes that Hajin isn't here, and asks Yunha about it, and she replies that he already went back. She asks why, and Yunha replies she has no idea either. While thinking that he was really worried about Naun, so he should have waited a bit more for her to come out, as he looked so concerned. She also remembers that he was too much out of breath and in daze, despite not running here, and wonders if it was because he was too nervous. Suddenly, Hajin gets a message from Captain about creation of his new ID for Violet Society, reading which, he thinks that he got really lucky today, but he really might wake up next time. And between someone who is lying in bed and in a coma, and someone who can walk around consciously, it is obvious which one is easier to kill. And so, that incident has really hit him, as Captain asks, when can he accept next mission? And we now switch to the warehouse, where the captain is residing. And she gets a message from Hajin that he can take a mission on right now, as he thinks that this could be the only rope he can grab a hold of. We now switch scenes to Creationist Benevolence Guild office. We learn that Yunha has become global 250th ranker and is being congratulated by her assistant. And she thanks him for that, while commenting that time flies really quickly, and asks if there has been any news happening recently. Her assistant informs her about a rumor that a new mercenary has joined Geronimo, causing her to get a bit excited. As she says, that demonic human extermination requires a lot of mercenary help, so it's quite good for them, and asks about the skills of that person. The assistant replies, it's assassination and sniping, with Sung-ah commenting that he must be a specialist if he got into Geronimo, and asks if he hid his identity. And her assistant agrees, even the intelligence agents only know of this little piece of rumor, there is very little information about him, which Sung-ah finds quite interesting. And they also barely found out his code name, Demonic Wolf. Back to Hajin, who finds this code name quite grand sounding, and realizes that it must be reference to Fenrir, the mystical wolf that appeared in Northern Europe. And when he asked about his code name, she gave him a nonsensical answer according to him. Suddenly, Evangel calls him out to herself, as he comes around and asks, what is the matter? She then shows him a wolf that she made. Hajin praises her for it, commenting that it's really well made, and she offers it to him as a gift. And he is quite surprised upon hearing that. She then asks him to watch what she is doing and she brings the wolf to life. Hajin is quite surprised seeing it, while the wolf suddenly pounces at him. He gets taken back by it, but the wolf goes inside him, much to his shock. Evangel starts laughing at him and Hajin tickles her for playing a prank on him, while she laughs and tells him to stop. A bit later and she tells him that she didn't play a prank on him, and in shock, Hajin notices a mark of wolf on his chest. As he wonders, what is it, we see he got the spirit of wolf dwelling inside him now, and it even provides him with various buffs. Hajin wonders if Evangel did this because she wanted to show him her new ability. And so he tightly hugs her and calls her sweet while apologizing. Though upon not receiving any response, he notes that she has fallen asleep already. But regardless, he hugs her warmly and thanks her doing all this for him. He tucks her into the bed, and Whitey arrives as well, whom Hajin asks if she wants to sleep besides Evangel as she yawns as well. He was wondering if he shouldn't have brought Whitey back since the two of them always bicker, but he is glad to see it wanting to be by Evangel's side, meaning they are actually good friends. And back when he came back from the Wind Mountain, Evangel didn't want it to be with him due to his new hairstyle. He was really hurt by all that. Suddenly, he gets a notification of getting an item delivery, a message from Violet Society it is. He guesses that it's the reward that the captain talked about and receives it. And we see it's a top-grade Under Armour. And seeing its information and stats, Hajin is quite surprised and elated. He quickly wears it and starts infusing his mana into it. And notes that it's covering his whole body with mana, and it's something that is just worth 300 million, but at least 3 billion, and thinks that he knew he could trust Captain for it. Among the messages, she also informs him that his next mission has been decided. We switch scenes to Toma, who seems to arrive at the orphanage, and tells the receptionist that she is looking for a certain patient. Argus Benjamin, a Latino like herself, and pretty old. And when the receptionist doesn't recognize, she shows her a photo, and the receptionist then recognizes him. Though she hesitantly informs Toma that he has already passed away, which shocks her, and it's been 2 years to that as well. And this causes Toma to realize that the nonsensical reply was actually the truth. Thinking that he ran away after throwing her life in a pit, lived a comfortable life himself, and then died peacefully. It angers her a lot, as she asks the receptionist if he left any memento or last words. And the receptionist asks her to confirm her relationship with him first, and Toma replies that his real name is Fernand Jesus, Argus Benjamin is a fake name. And she is Toma Jesus, and Fernand is her biological father, which she vouches for with her mage qualification ID. The receptionist tells her that she don't know much about him either, as he only interacted with a male student that came here as a volunteer. And that student also came here not too long ago, so he might have heard something from Benjamin. Toma asks her if she can tell her who he is. And the receptionist tells her to wait till she looks at the records. Meanwhile, we see Toma is getting lots of messages from the agency, and they seems to be demoting her, though she doesn't care anymore, as she already got what she wanted. The receptionist then reveals to her that it's Kim Hajin, a cube cadet, hearing which causes her to get shocked. As she wonders in shock if he is really the Kim Hajin that she knows. We now see a bunch of couples being all lovey-dovey with each other, with Hajin sighing and trying to ignore them and notice the falling autumn leaves instead. It's a place where they put a lot of effort into landscaping and mana concentration, but it has become the most popular spot in a school where dating is banned. And as he is wondering how it would all look in the spring, someone calls him out by touching, saying that he was so deep in thought that he couldn't hear them calling him. And we see it's Yunha, who gives something to Hajin. He asks her about it and she replies that it's the ginseng that he gave her last time. She refined half of it into an elixir. But Hajin asks about the half part, and she replies that she planned to use the rest for research and development. And in return, she offers to give him some shares of her company, and even an equivalent amount in elixirs, causing Hajin to think that she used that ginseng as she pleased, and she is so calm about it as well. Though he don't mind since she isn't someone who would stab someone in the back. If anything, she is someone who would get stabbed in the back instead. Right now, she has a tendency of being too trustful of those she considers to be her people. It's understandable since she is 17, but the guild's internal power struggles will make her face a filthy political battle. And from that, Hajin also remembers about an incident that it's going to happen around winter break, Yunha's power abuse scandal stemming from that incident. But upon hearing her telling him that he should take 1 elixir a day, he snaps back from his thoughts. As she tells him that 1 pill costs around 1 billion, which greatly shocks him, as she informs him that they are made by condensing mana crystals and wild ginseng after all. He asks if it's really that valuable, and she replies, it's not, but it's how marketing works. They could make same dose of other medicines about 300 to 400 times, while this one can only be made about 20 in comparison, so unless they are selling it at that price, it would be a loss. And upon seeing its stats, Hajin finds them better than expected as well, and decides to return the favor to her in that case and give something to her. And it turns out to be another wild ginseng, seeing which she gets elated, as she asks, where did he got it from this time? And he replies, Wind Mountain, which surprises her, so Hajin says, then he should give it to Jonghak instead by the principal, but she panics and tells him to wait instead, stating that Jonghak once forgot her birthday party, so it would make up for that. And with that she leaves, while saying she would contact if there is any progress. And Hajin then remembers and looks at his watch, noting that Toma hasn't replied to his text yet. Based on the situation, he assumes that she has visited the nursing home, and must be having complicated thoughts right now, so he decides to wait till she sort them out. Fast forward a bit later, and Hajin receives his briefing for rescue mission, with location being China. As soon as the classes end tomorrow, he plans to use the portal to head to Beijing. In his story, a lawless zone exists across the Mongolia and Russian border. This place is a trafficking and smuggling route frequently used by demonic humans. It's their hideout, a chaotic zone, ruled by the law of power, where brutal crimes are committed. Even this lawless zone has its own form of demonic human society and set of regulations. The demonic humans call this place the Masked Demon Palace, or Pandemonium. Fast forward and we see Hajin arriving at the northern Beijing Bridge area. Realizing that it's a mid-danger zone, he starts to feel eerie of it. Today's targets are demonic humans who have thrown away their humanity and become self-proclaimed dogs of the devil. Demonic humans are created when negative emotions are magnified through contracts. The weaker they are, the more desperate they become, committing heinous crimes without regard for means or consequences. Due to this all, he believes that he won't feel much guilt when killing them, though he don't know if he should be happy about that. We then see a bunch of trucks coming and Hajin prepares his weapon. First up, he targets the driver of the truck and hits a headshot. This causes the truck to go off-road, causing others to wonder what is up with him, and Hajin quickly takes out the other truck driver as well. They all finally realizes that someone is attacking them, and quickly goes on to guard the goods. They realize that there is a sniper somewhere, but before they know, one of them again gets shot. They finally locate Hajin and quickly rushes at him to kill him. And Hajin eats the ginseng, and also activates his under armor, and switches his weapon to assault rifle and activates bullet time, and shoots down everyone who was rushing at him. A bit later, and we see him opening the truck, thinking that it's going to be fine if he doesn't lose focus. But suddenly, another guy pops in and jumps on Hajin to kill him. And Hajin realizes that he let his guard down, while the guy seems to have almost pierced his chest with his weapon. But as the dagger hits, the wolf spirit that Evangel gave him comes out and attacks the guy. And it starts to brutally mutilate it, seeing which Hajin seems surprised. He wonders if that thing just came out of his body, and suddenly remembers the effect of the spirit, and notes that he has a lot to improve one for letting his guard down in a place like this. But nonetheless, when he opens the back of the truck, he finds the hostages, shivering in fear. He throws them the watch, telling them that he has killed the demonic human, and that now, it's time for them to go home. He also sends the message to Captain, which she confirms from her side as well. And we see all the members of Chameleon Troop were watching the Hajin alongside her. Khalifa asks if it's fine for only 5 of them to be here even though the rookie evaluation is really important, and Jane replies, it cannot be helped, since all of them has their own schedule. Though she is also surprised at him killing 20 people in 21 seconds, making her question, how can a long-range weapon be that strong? And believes his talent lies in enhances and transformation of his weapon using mana, and asks others, what do they think of him? Jin Yoan replies that he is probably at least upper intermediate grade, surprising Jane that he is rating Hajin that highly, and asks if he even knows that that grade means, since even he can kill 10 people, but he replies that it has to be around 100 people at least. Khalifa asks Jane's opinion, and she thinks that he is around intermediate grade, similar to Kim Suho. And while she don't know how strong he is in a one-on-one situation, she believes he would be really helpful in fight against large groups. Yoan says that Zheng Yang is good at evaluating someone's ability and asks if he is still in demonic realm, and Drun replies, he is, and it doesn't seem he has any intentions of getting out either. They all wonder if he is not sick of it, and one of them replies that he should come back after having some fun instead of just staying there. But regardless, Jane asks Drun if he figured out what that spirit wolf was just now, which he replies that it must be his pet with a straight face, causing Jane to question, would a pet really come out of his chest? Captain replies that she would ask him directly about it, and Jane questions if he would just tell him. And she grins and replies that Hajin will tell her since he trusts her a lot, which Jane really doesn't buy. Back to Hajin, who tells a sleeping Evangel that she really saved his life today. And when he saw the wolf stat, he at one point that he should be wearing the armor instead, since his stats are that good, which makes him think that it really might become a demonic wolf. Evangel seems to have woken up and reaches out her hand towards Hajin while chuckling, and asks for delicious food again, and he tells her to sleep a little more and eat the food later, while thinking that he cannot remember when, but Evangel started becoming a deep source of comfort for him. It's only been a year to him since he fell into this world, when the main story comes to an end and he returns to his reality. He wonders if he would really be able to go back to his original life. Can he forget everything that happened and everyone that he met? Fast forward and he is back to school and also very tired since he only slept for an hour. He thinks about Toma, who hasn't contacted him since her last message, And when he visited the memorial park, he prepared something that would help him get Toma as an ally, for Nan's grave is surrounded by the flowers that he gave as a present as well. And he wonders if she hasn't found a letter. Suddenly, someone starts to sit beside him. And when he looks to the side, it turns out to be Toma, who seems to be writing something on a paper. She passes him the note, asking if he did any volunteer work ever, a question which takes him by surprise. And he agrees that he has, and she then asks if he met someone named Agus Benjamin at a nursing home before. And he agrees to that as well, and adds that they were quite close, which makes Toma make a visible change in her expression. She then asks, what was he like, and he replies that he always seems kind of lonely. She digs in further, asking how did they become friends since he never opened up to the nurses there. And he replies it was because they were in a similar situation, he also didn't had any family members. Hajin then questions her, why is she asking about him, and she replies that he is her birth father, as Hajin realizes that Toma has found out. She asks if he is surprised, since she never imagined that she would actually find someone who knows him. She then expresses her anger of him for killing her mother and running away. She was curious as to why he did, but he died before she can find out. No one knows why, and so Hajin is the only she could ask, and asks if he left anything behind, and Hajin realizes that she has not seen the letter yet from the way she is talking. And he knows that Fernand actually didn't abandon Toma. And so, he tells her that there was a letter, which causes her to ask, where is it? And he writes down the address of Sioho Memorial Park. And soon after the class ends, she gets up and tells him that she is leaving Cube today, but she would still definitely pay him back, so he shouldn't get the wrong idea. And Hajin replies that he wasn't worried at all, hoping that she can manage on her own now. He starts to take a breather, knowing that it all ended on a good note somehow in the end. And right as he is planning to get lots of rest for this weekend, Naun pats his back suddenly. He asks her, what is it, and she excitedly tells him if he hasn't forgotten about tomorrow. And tells him to not be late, leaving Hajin in complete confusion. Seeing his confused expressions, Naun asks if he forgot, and Suho reminds him that they planned to eat together. And he remembers when Naun invited him over. He tries to say that if it wasn't just Suho and her planning to go and eat, but she argues that she said it would all of them together. Yunha arrives saying the same as Naun, which Hajin also doesn't remember. But as Hajin is trying to decline again by saying that he don't have time on that day, Naun gets all close with him and pats his hair. And tells him that he better come that day or she would invite him into the group chat. We now switch scenes to Toma, who is at the memorial park and is searching for the grave of her father. And after a bit, she finally ends up finding it. Though upon noticing quite a few flowers on his grave, she wonders who did it. And soon finds out it was Hajin, wondering if he kept coming here years after he died, and even infused them with mana so they don't wither. Noting that her father died peacefully in a cozy place and is being honored like this. Which makes her angry since he killed her mother, and throws the flowers away. She questions herself, until now, what did she even do all that for? And she then remembers about the letter, and upon seeing it, she seems quite surprised. As it seems to be addressed to her only. He felt in quite conflict when he was writing it. One part of him hopes that she never reads it, and another part hopes how she would feel when she reads it. Believing that now words can heal the wounds she carry, but as her father, he didn't thought that it would be right for her to live without learning the whole truth. And reveals that his wife and her mother sold her soul to a demonic human. We now get a flashback with Toma, who seems excited to see her dad, while he seems nervous. She tells her dad that their mom is taking them to the amusement park, but he asks her to let's go home first, and Toma tries asking if something is wrong. And her dad nervously replies that he and her mom needs to talk. A bit later, we see him being angry at her mother for trying to sell their child to a demonic human. But she doesn't believe there is anything wrong with that, surprising Benjamin. She believes that it would make her stronger, and she can do even worse things then. And her child will understand that too someday, which makes him call her insane. And after that, she tries to leave while calling herself a busy person and calls out to Toma as well to take her with herself. But her dad disagrees and tries to pull her back, causing her to slip and fall and seemingly die, with all of that happening in an instant. Toma comes out asking about her mom, where she went. While her dad gets worried, knowing that if it's discovered that his wife is a demonic human, then even Toma wouldn't be safe. And so, he asks her to go outside and call someone for help. Toma tries asking, what is going on? And her father tells her that she hit their mom, reading all of which causes the present Toma to cry. Furthermore, he wanted to live a stable life in Korea, and gave everything he had to his friend and asked him to take care of her. But years later, when he came to Korea, Toma was gone, and he tried everything to find her, but he couldn't, neither her nor his friend, though Toma doesn't believe it all. Questioning if he is really expecting her to believe such shit now, and crushes the paper. And suddenly, she notices another thing and remembers giving her dad a gift for his birthday. Her dad thanks him for it, and she asks if he likes it. It's apparently of the same color as the brooch that he gave her on her birthday. And we see the letter also had that gift inside of it, with her father having it kept safe for all this time. Back to Hajin, who is putting Evangel to sleep. He suddenly gets a message from Toma, a thank you, making Hajin realize that she has made there safely. After that last message to him, she completely disappeared, but she stated that she would repay his money no matter what, and since their mana contract still exists, their connection hasn't been severed. But regardless of that, he gets a feeling that she would become a strong ally of his in the near future. Fast forward to the next day, we see Hajin being excited upon looking at the served food. And Naun happily tells him that the food here is really good, so he should look forward to it. And seeing her expression and tone, Hajin seems a bit surprised, noting that her attitude has changed. Meanwhile, she talks about their get-together reminding her of when they were in the past, noting that she grew much stronger due to the stronger, and feels unstoppable now. But Yunha shits on her parade by pointing out that she just lost to Rachel, causing her to argue that it was a draw. Jonghak then asks Suho if his final preparations are going well, who replies that it's in progress and asks about his. Jonghak smirks, while saying that he is different than him, he has never prepared for anything. While referring to himself to born of a superior bloodline, causing Suho to awkwardly chuckle at it. Hajin notes that them two are also being more friendlier with each other than he expected. According to the novel, things should have been quite intense by now, noting that things are deviating quite much from the original story. But putting all that aside, he still couldn't ignore the delicacies in front of him. With the food melting as soon as it goes into his mouth, Naun also forwards him another piece herself. With her expression clearly saying a young lady has given him a free dish, though Hajin is not too impressed by it. And by this point, he is sure that something has definitely changed, and thinks that perhaps it's due to the time capsule that he gave her. Or perhaps that she has developed feelings for him. Naun notices his stare and asks if he wants more food, but he declines. But regardless, she still calls the waiter to get him some more, even though he keeps on declining, and seeing her behave like that, he convinces himself that it's the gratitude for giving her the time capsule. A bit later, and we see all them going to the karaoke as Yunha suggested. With Hajin singing captivating everyone around, even people who were online. Seeing how Naun is out of it, Yunha wonders if she is still caught in lingering emotion from Hajin's song. She also does think that Hajin sang incredibly well, and just then, her watch starts to ring. And it's from Hajin, who asks her to come out as he got something to talk about with her. Outside, he calls her buddy in English, causing her confusion as she asks, why is he suddenly speaking in that, to which he replies, that buddy means comrade. Though she tells him to stop joking around and get to the point, and he chuckles and hands over something while saying that he wants some bullets. She asks about the envelope and he replies that he wants her to grind what is inside that into the bullets, and asks if she can. Yunha smirks, saying that they got cutting-edge compression technique that can inject mana even into bullets smaller than a finger. And upon opening up the envelope she finds a leaf inside of it, causing her try her luck, saying that he wouldn't tell her about it even if she were to ask, would he, and he replies that she knows him well. But regardless, she agrees to do it and he thanks her for that. He also asks her to tell everyone that he is leaving first. She asks if he is going already and he replies that ever since he finished singing, Jonghak eyes have been scary. And with that, they both part ways. Suddenly, Yunha gets a message from her subordinate with something urgent to report. While investigating Hajin, they have discovered a suspicious incident, which she finds quite shocking. During the year that he was born, there was an incident known as Guang-O incident, and for some reason, all related materials for that incident have been concealed. And during the incident, one of their agents was attacked as well. She asks about their condition, and they are apparently fine and are recovering without any major issues. She asks him to first submit all the information to her and suspend the investigation for now, since the safety of their agents takes priority. The name of the incident sounds familiar to her, and she suddenly remembers something. She saw something similar in her father's diary a long time ago. Back then, she couldn't read Chinese characters, so she didn't understand the content, but her dad scolded her for reading that day's diary entry. And if Hajin is really connected to that incident, then she believes she can truly return the favor to him as a real comrade. And luckily her dad is also on a business trip, so she plans to check the diary at home. Suddenly, she encounters Naun and asks her, what is she doing outside, and she replies that they all didn't came back in, so she came to check. Naun starts to look around and Yunha tells her that he already left, which surprises her. She asks him, what did they talk about, and where did he go, and bunch of other questions. This causes Yunha to burst into laughter, which embarrasses Naun, as she asks what is wrong with her. And Yoon calls her really cute when she is not being honest, which again makes her blush, as she calls it all a nonsense. We now switch scenes to Yunha's home where she greets the butler and asks, how has he been? He replies that she has came back after a long time, and informs that both her parents are out right now, though she tells him to not mind him. As today, she just needs to check out one book in her father's study. Inside her father's office, she remembers that it's been a while since she has been here, and remembers the book being under the desk, hidden with a cloak. Though, there she finds a safe instead, and it wasn't there last time she saw it. But since it's her dad, she thinks that the password might be her birthday. And when it doesn't open, she tries her mom's birthday, but it's not it either. And so, she comes to the conclusion that there must be only one answer, and with that one, the safe finally opens. As it turns out, the password was the combination of both her and her mom's birthday. She finally finds her dad's journal as well, and also gets a message on her smartwatch, which is the complied information about Hajin from their investigation. They discovered that after the Guangzhou incident, Hajin was entered into an orphanage near the Guangzhou shelter, which makes her think that they're getting closer to truth. She opens up the diary, remembering that she has seen that before, and tries to search it up, and finally finds it. It was September 9, 2008. A report about Guangzhou was filed. It was a day which her father stated he would never forget. What happened that day in Guangzhou for the rest of his life, reading which her expression starts to turn a bit grim. Back to Hajin and Evangel, who notes that both her and Whitey are fully focused on the TV. And Evangel aside, even Whitey is watching it like she understands, as he notes that her intelligence must be really high. From which, he remembers about Toma's ring, which enhances intelligence. He notes that there is no rule written on it that it can only be used on humans and decides to test something out. He tries to reach its maximum value, which is costing him 40 SP. And for humans, it's costing 250 SP. But regardless, looking at them play, he starts to smile. And thinks that it might not help him, but it would help Evangel, and puts the ring on her tail to see how smart Whitey gets. Back to Yunha, whose expression is now filled with complete grim as sweats roll down her face, while questions, what is this? The journal continues that an assassin was hired and her father was entrusted to a massacre, reading which she is left in absolute shock. Jin Young-han was an upright man, respected by many and a righteous person who always stood against injustice. President Kim Seok, who saw him as a thorn on his side, branded him as the beginning of the demonic humans, or maybe he just feared that his own corruption would end up being exposed. But the real problem was that Chai Juchul also wished for Jin Young-han's death. He agreed with the president's claim that he was a demonic human, and to avoid suspicion of assassination, he ordered a complete eradication of those who followed him, and then hired assassin and entrusted the massacre to him. And on September 8, Jin Young-han's urgent radio message came in. They requested for backup, but since he had staged that monster attack, he ordered a focus on rescue operation and drove them straight to their deaths. Jin Young-han and his comrades tried to protect the civilians in the Guangzhou shelter, but around 8 p.m., an assassin infiltrated. And they were all slaughtered. Reading all this make Yunha tremble in fear and shock, as she questions, what is she even reading right now? The fact that her dad was part of the massacre was shocking to her, while he tried to bury this secret deep in his heart. But on the very next day, he received a report that a heavily pregnant woman was among Jin Young-han's subordinates. And as Yunha turns the pages, she starts to realize where it's getting, and tries to deny that there is no way they can be Hajin's parents, and the report that her father received was shocking to him. It contained a detail that there were signs of childbirth in the shelter, but no newborn's body was ever found. And immediately after the incident, the baby was registered at an orphanage near the Guangzhou shelter. And when he questioned the assassin hired by Chai Juchul, he said he didn't kill the baby but abandoned it instead. But that baby was fated to die that day, so her father sought him out, and tried to kill him with his own hand, reading which, Yunha is left absolutely disgusted. Back to Hajin, who receives a text from the travel club about an upcoming trip to Busan Festival. But he doesn't want to go since wherever the travel club goes, trouble follows. Though he still accepts, since it was written in the original novel so there can be some rest. He then thinks if it's from the Saturday onwards, he asks Evangel if she wants to go out next Friday. Who gets really excited hearing that and immediately leaps into Hajin's arms. Back to the journal, her dad suddenly remembered a little girl that was born in April, a mysterious existence who couldn't do anything on her own but made him happy just by existing. And that was his daughter, Yunha. Which caused him to deliberately left out the report about that baby. But even then, he knows the fact remains that he abandoned a child to his death and killed his parents. He knows he already lived his life in cowardice, so a little more filth won't change anything for him now. And yet, the reason that he is recording in his journal right now, he believes it to be his last shred of conscience perhaps, or a coward's self-justification even. Or maybe even a silver of guilt towards Chai Juchul, he is unable to tell anymore. In absolute shock, Yunha drops the diary and remembers her own words to him that they could be good comrades. She knows that Hajin risked his own life for her, and also remembers when he called her buddy. This causes her even more despair, as her face turns to disgust from the fact that he called her his comrade. And with that, she is overcome with disgust and anger, as she puts her face down and screams in guilt. Fast forward to Friday, and we arrive at Busan's top hotel, Lotus Hall. And Hajin seems to be staying there along with Whitey and Evangel. As soon as his class ended, he came to Busan to enjoy the festival with Evangel. With him noting that his room is usually really hard to book even if one is willing to pay the price, but he got really lucky since someone cancelled their reservation at last minute. So he finds it all really convenient when he has high luck and enjoys the view. But just then, he notices two people walking down on the road. And he uses his eye ability to peek at the guy, noting that he looks strange. But the person is able to notice Hajin looking at him and glares back at him, surprising Hajin. And we see he was able to detect it from all the way to the ground. And starts to smirk at him, making Hajin wonder if he really saw him from that far away. Causing him to nervously wonder, what is this, and gets an ominous feeling. His instincts as the original author starts to shout at him, as he seems to be realizing something. An otherworldly being like Suho, a villain who was molded by a sense of loss from losing their home, shaped by countless betrayals. And turned into someone complete opposite of Suho, a growth-type final boss. But upon looking closer and seeing him wave, he thinks that perhaps it's not the case, because his smile is too easygoing, it's not how he was originally portrayed. And his image is totally different as well. And unless the co-author messed with things again, and just then the girl also turns towards Hajin. And seems to be quite pissed at him. Causing Hajin to wonder, why is she glaring like she wants to kill him all of a sudden, and suddenly he hears the guy calling her Sahyuk. Which causes Hajin to sweat nervously as he seems to realize something and calls the co-author a jerk for going too far. He agrees that the final boss's personality, ideology, and beliefs and everything was meant to be opposite of Suho. But the co-author also ended up changing the gender of the final boss. Seeing her, he sweats profusely while the guy with Sahyuk asks her, who does she think Hajin is, since he was able to lock eyes with them? And she replies, probably a nobody, while Hajin remembers her as someone on the same level as Suho or even greater potential than him, growing rapidly, destined to be the greatest threat in the final arc. And if he had a bullet with a Mistilteen's leaf in it right now, he would have burned through all of his SP just to take her down on the spot. But he never thought that she would show up with that appearance, in a situation where he is alone, though he wonders, who is that guy with her? Meanwhile, the guy tells Sahyuk to improve her observation skill, since if someone who can look down from that height on them and meet their gaze without flinching, he would have the guts to fight them, meaning he is no ordinary person. And so, he tells her to stop glaring like that, but she argues that he started it first. He replies that perhaps Hajin is just into her, so she should give him a wink or something, which angers her, as she replies that she would give him a death wink instead, causing Hajin to label them insane. But regardless, the guy decides to not respond to her reply and starts to take his leave with her while glancing back at Hajin once more. And when they finally leave, Hajin sits down thinking that it took 10 years of his life from this. Though it's a relief that he was able to identify her, but he still wonders, who is that guy with her, and seems to be someone on par with her, or perhaps they have an even deeper relationship. Suddenly, Evangel arrives asking Hajin if she can swim in pool with Whitey, and he gives the permission not without asking if Whitey can swim, which she can. And so, Evangel quickly changes her outfit using magic, causing Hajin to label it really convenient while thinking there is no point to the original story if it's going to deviate this much. But regardless, since he would be facing her soon again, he plans to find out then. Fast forward to next day, we see Hajin waiting on the travel club members, with his early arrival being commented on by the president, to which Hajin replies that he figured that he should be early sometimes. When they returned to Seoul early Saturday morning, instead of going to the Cube, they got her apartment in Seocho district, though while he feels uneasy to leave Evangel alone, but Whitey is with her, so he believes she would be fine. And since Evangel was cheerful, he believes that his night out with her was a success as well. Back to the travel club, rest of the members arrive as well, with Suho also commenting on Hajin being early, to which he says that he was excited. And he also overhears Naun informing the president that Yunha isn't feeling well, so she would be joining them later. Hajin asks if she is sick and Suho replies she even got hospitalized. Younghan asks if it was stress-related gastritis and Naun replies it was, and she even stayed up all night taking care of her. She hasn't looked well all week, and whenever she asked her what is wrong, she wouldn't answer. Hajin also remembers that he haven't run into her at all this week, he didn't knew that she was sick. But Naun does tell him that she would join them later, so Hajin gets a bit less worried, thinking that she might have her upset stomach since she loves food after all. We then see all of them arriving at Busan, with the president telling them all the spots that Busan has. Hajin also seems a bit excited and plans to check out an antique shop since he might be able to find some unexpected treasure there due to his high luck. Suddenly, Naun arrives and puts a hat on his head, causing him to lash out and asks, "What is she doing?" and she replies that it looks good on him, so she would buy it for him. But he tells her no thanks and starts taking it off, but Naun tells her to not since she already paid for it. And it apparently costed her 350,000 won, which Hajin finds really expensive. And so, he ended up wearing it. She also offers him street food to eat while speaking in Busan dialect, and shoves it into his mouth, though he tells her to drop the dialect since it doesn't suit her. He also asks her why is she not eating, and she replies if she does eat street food, she would get upset stomach. And so, she plans to give it all to him instead, and seeing her bright mood, Hajin wonders if it's because Jinyun's condition has been improved, or if there is something else, as she starts to pull Hajin to places. This all got Hajin wondering if it's really okay for him to be this close with her. Because even if they get along, it would only make her feel more betrayed and hurt worse, which is why he needs to maintain a certain distance. Yet, he questions, how did things ended up like this, as he starts to seemingly blush and tells her to wait a minute. Thinking that he needs to keep his distance now, yet Naun puts on a scarf around him, causing Hajin to think again that he really should keep his distance, but dark and cowardly feelings are starting to creep into him, with Naun giving him the scarf while telling it's going to get cold soon, and ends up also complimenting him that he looks surprisingly good in any color, and says that perhaps she has good tastes, and all of this interaction made Hajin wonder that as long as he don't get caught, maybe it's okay for them to be close. But regardless of all that thoughts, he quickly runs away telling her that he don't want it. But she again tells him that it's getting cold and tries to call him out, but he runs away even while she asks him, where is he going? Now fast forward to night, at the final destination, an amusement park. A place that should be filled with dreams and fantasy is currently a hotspot for smuggler transactions. According to the original story, things will go south and the smugglers will cause a scene, and Jin Sa-hyuk will approach Suho amidst the chaos. Suddenly, Naun tells everyone that Yunha is almost here, and notices her car stopping right behind them. And from it, she gets out with a seemingly grim expression, and Naun asks if she is feeling better, and she agrees. The club president tells everyone to line to get their wristband, and when they do, Hajin starts to stare at Yunha. He asks if she is still sick, and she replies that she is okay, but Hajin notes that she doesn't really look that way, and wonders if she gets seriously hit with food poisoning or something. And just when the president announces that they would be moving in pairs, Yunha quickly pulls Hajin with him. It surprises Naun, who asks them what is wrong with her. And Hajin also wonders why is she acting like that all of a sudden, and that her expression looks serious as well. And wonders if there is something that can only be discussed between the two of them. We then see both of them sitting in a Ferris wheel, awkwardly silent, with Hajin thinking that he thought it was the case, but she hasn't said much during the whole walking through the park. She just kept sighing and sneaking glances at him. And then out of nowhere she asked to ride the Ferris wheel with him, but he knows that they aren't here for date. And so, he finally asks her, what is it about? if it's something about his bullet or something wrong with it, but she denies, saying that it would be done by next month, and tries to tell something about those leaves he gave her. To which he replies that they are not ordinary leaves he knows, and asks her if he can use some of them for research purpose if they are left after processing, which agrees, though she doesn't seem much into it all. And so, Hajin continues on that they have to make the project a success since they are partners, hearing which again gets her filled with guilt. She then finally musters up courage to tell him something, but Hajin is still on about the project. She finally speaks up, saying that she got something to tell him with a very concerned expression. And just as Hajin tells her to go ahead and say it, we see something happen causing the Ferris wheel to shake. Hajin looks outside upon finding the Ferris wheel stopped, and realizes that it's starting. Sahuk tells Suho that he seems to be a celebrity around here. Thanks to which, she was able to recognize him right away, but Hajin is shocked, and asks, how is she here? She replies that he has recognized her, though not without remarking that he would have been an idiot for not doing so, since they are the only ones here. And as for Suho's question, she replies if he really thinks that he was the only special one that day in that situation. Suho starts to get angry and asks her reason to be here, with Naun being surprised seeing Suho angry like this for the first time. While wondering, who is that girl, Sahuk tells Suho that it's none of his business to know, and asks if he forgot how to show her respect. Because no matter how much the world changes, he shouldn't forget their past relationship. But Suho replies that after all this time, she don't have the right to say that. But she replies that she always have the right with a confident smirk, and plans to fix Suho's attitude since he is acting too arrogant despite being a lowborn thing. Naun gets pissed and speaks up, saying that she don't know what is her deal with Suho, but if someone like him is angry, then 9 out of 10 times she is the one who is garbage in the situation, making Sahuk pissed. And as she tells her to get lost, Sahuk immediately attacks her and sends her flying all the way back. And Suho is left absolutely stunned by this, as he looks back at Naun in shock. And we see Sahuk is about to use her power again, this time to attack Suho, who is checking up on Naun, causing Sahuk to get angry again since he is showing her his back. And we see her forming and summoning tons of weapons around her, leaving Suho nervous. Meanwhile, Hajin is surprised to see Naun go down in one hit like that, since no matter how strong Sahuk is, it shouldn't be possible. And so, he plans to interfere again and tells Yunha that they would be talking later. And breaks open the gate and prepares to jump out. But as he tells her that he would be heading first, she grabs his hand and tells him that she don't think this can wait. Her hand starts to tremble, as she is almost breaking down while saying that if she don't say it now, she don't think she would ever be able to say it. Hajin gets worried for her as well, and wonders what is going with her. And assumes if it's the start of the Yunha abuse scandal part already, as it would explain stress-induced gastritis, and she must have a rough time. And so, he breaks free from her hand, and tells her that she don't have to say it then. Telling her that it's okay even if she don't say it. Because he would help her, whatever she is worried about. And it will always work out in the end. Upon landing, Hajin quickly runs to check up on Naun. He notes that she isn't hurt badly, but since there might be internal injuries, he decides to move her first. We see her grunting in pain and noticing Hajin, who takes out a potion. And gets her to drink it, telling her that she would feel better soon. Suho also seems quite worried about her, but Sahuk tells him to ignore them. Suho then questions her, why did she change so much? And she again gets pissed, saying that she told him already to not look down on her. She prepares to hurl the weapons towards Suho, who also picks up a metal pipe to defend himself. And as the weapons comes for him, he is able to fend them off using the metal pipe. He asks Sahuk if she has to do this, since they no longer have a reason to fight each other. But she replies that it's not for him to decide, and regardless, she asks if he thinks that pipe is going to be enough for him. As we see her attacking Suho from behind, which he is still able to block. But it's still not enough, as one of the attacks still lands near him, and seeing their fight, Hajin seems worried as well. Noting that she is ridiculously strong, the energy of that dark blue mana itself is based on the third antithesis of Kim Suho, which means she doesn't even need weapons to fight. Because highly compressed mana itself becomes a weapon, on top of that, Suho doesn't even have Mistiltine with him right now. And when the pipe breaks, one of her attacks gets completely up close with him. But she changes its trajectory to not kill him, and instead strikes him on his gut. And then lands multiple blows from other sides, making him go crash on the ground. Suho lies in defeat, and Hajin notes that if he leaves him be, something terrible is going to happen. And right as she is about to strike Suho again, Hajin steps in, telling her that this should be enough for now. At first she is confused, and suddenly remembers Hajin from back then, who gets anxious since she remembers him. She asks if he is Suho's teacher or something, but before he answers, she attacks Hajin. Though the attack seemingly lands on both of his sides instead. And seeing her expression, Hajin gets terrified. And when she attacks him again, he uses bullet time to dodge it this time. She compliments him for dodging it smoothly, while Hajin has his heart out as he thanks bullet time for saving him. He asks her to stop right there, since neither of them bruff weapons here. But she again interrupts him and asks if he is seriously not his teacher, leaving him dumbfounded. As he replies that he is his friend, causing her to lash out at Hajin and tells him to get lost unless he wants to be buried. But Hajin realizes that she isn't going to back off no matter what, and he starts to prepare something. He remembers her being an arrogant and a careless person, which is why his provocation is bound to work, as he takes out a coin from his pocket. And seeing him take out a coin on her like this, pisses her off. She nags at him for saying that he had no weapon and yet he pulled that out just now. Meanwhile, Hajin focuses the stigma's mana on it and activates the item's effect. And lastly, he throws it towards her using random style enhancement. And it strikes her right on the head, making Hajin nervous for what is going to happen next. And so, she gets really pissed as she starts bleeding from the head, with Hajin noting that it's expected that even after using all of his strength, he is unable to take her down right now. But as she is about to attack him, Hajin still thinks that it's fine. As we see the guy with her stops her, telling her that it's enough now, which is something Hajin expected. She tries to argue to let her go, as she is still fine, but he tells her that her brain is rattled now, she cannot even control her mana. And with a single strike on her neck, he is able to put her to sleep. He smiles while telling Hajin that she is so much trouble, and also remembers meeting Hajin before, who is hesitant to confirm it. But he thanks him, because of him, he probably won't let his guard down next time. And jumps away with Sahyuk. And as the tension is released, Hajin drops down as well with a big sigh of relief.
Right now your brain's still open, still listening. That means I have one last chance to tell you something important. You didn't find this video by accident. Something pulled you here, so trust that instinct. Like the video, it locks in the value. Comment something, anything. It gives your mind closure. And hit subscribe, or don't. But if you don't understand this, you'll forget this moment, this channel, and you'll search for something like it again, but you won't find it. This is where that search ends. So act before your window closes.